Chapter 941. Dog of the same master. General Wei Wu in front of him seemed to be getting weaker and weaker. In the end, he couldn't even open his eyes. However, there was nothing he could do. He could only watch as the energy from General Wei Wu's body flowed into his body and continued to repair his damaged meridians. As time passed, Lin Yi could clearly feel that the energy inside General Wei Wu's body was getting weaker and weaker. The energy that flowed into his body wasn't as strong as before. He wasn't sure if it was because the repair of his meridians increased his endurance or General Wei Wu was really dying. General Wei Wu, I hope you can hold on. Thank you for helping me get through this. Once I recover my strength, I will help you recover your strength too. The energy was getting weaker and weaker. Finally, there wasn't a single drop left. General Wei Wu separated from Lin Yi's body and collapsed on Lin Yi's bed. He didn't know if he was dead or alive. Phew. Lin Yi could clearly feel the energy in his body. He recovered. He really recovered. Although the meridians in his body weren't completely healed, and even if they were healed, the energy stored in them was still very weak. But Lin Yi knew that he wasn't far from recovering his strength. This feeling was really comfortable. Lin Yi took a deep breath and hugged General Wei Wu. He placed it in his arms and entered the space of the jade pendant. This way, once Lin Yi's meridians were all repaired, there would be extra energy. Then, when Lin Yi activated the art of dragon mastery, the energy would be continuously transferred to General Wei Wu's body. This way, he could ensure that General Wei Wu could be healed in the shortest time possible. Lin Yi was afraid that he wouldn't be able to heal General Wei Wu in time after he fully recovered his strength. The advantage of this was that he could provide energy to General Wei Wu first. After General Wei Wu recovered his strength, he could recover his own strength. Jiao Lao, my meridians are repaired. As soon as Lin Yi entered the space of the jade pendant, he couldn't wait to enter the cultivation state and activate the art of dragon mastery. Jiao Yazi glanced at Lin Yi, but he didn't want to disturb him. It wouldn't be too late to talk about it after he finished cultivating. The energy in the space of the jade pendant was instantly mobilized by Lin Yi and surged madly into Lin Yi's body. However, the energy in the jade space was more than 100 times stronger than the energy that came from General Wei Wu. Fortunately, Lin Yi's meridians were almost fully repaired. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to withstand such a terrifying surge of energy. A strange flush appeared on Lin Yi's face. This was a sign that his body was gradually recovering. Lin Yi could feel that all the injuries in his body seemed to have started the self-healing process at the same time. This was many times faster than using General Wei Wu's energy to repair his meridians one by one. The energy in the space of the jade pendant seemed to be endless and inexhaustible. Lin Yi was like a person who just came back from the desert and desperately needed water. He greedily absorbed the energy in the space for his own use. As the endless energy surged into his body, Lin Yi's tightly shut eyes suddenly opened and joy appeared on his rosy cheeks. It was repaired, it was really repaired. Lin Yi could feel that all the injuries in his body were healed. His meridians could once again store energy like before. After the joy, Lin Yi didn't stop. He closed his eyes again and continued to use the art of dragon mastery. The energy in the space of the jade pendant continued to flow into Lin Yi's body. However, because Lin Yi's body was hugging General Wei Wu who was about to die and Lin Yi was using the art of dragon mastery, the energy that flowed into Lin Yi's body didn't stay in Lin Yi's body. Instead, it stopped after the meridians were repaired and used Lin Yi's body as a medium. The energy was sucked into Lin Yi's body from the space of the jade pendant. After completing the conversion process, it flowed into General Wei Wu's body. Therefore, Lin Yi could finally take a break from his busy schedule. The energy wasn't absorbed by Lin Yi, so Lin Yi could open his eyes and speak. Phew! Lin Yi let out a long breath. Ever since he was injured, he had never felt so good. Seeing that Lin Yi opened his eyes again, Jiao Yazi looked at Lin Yi strangely. Little Lin Yi, why didn't you continue your cultivation? No, you're still absorbing energy. No. But all the energy that I absorbed is given to General Wei Wu first. It's just beside me. Lin Yi felt refreshed and his body was filled with the passion of battle. I didn't expect you to recover your strength in this situation. I was careless and forgot that you have a dog from the same sect. Jiao Yazi exclaimed. If I remembered it earlier, your meridians wouldn't have been repaired until now. Oh yeah, Jiao Lao, I want to ask, why can I use the energy in General Weiwu's body? Lin Yi asked curiously. But the energy in my body can only be released after I use the art of dragon mastery. Hee, that's because you're different from that dog. Its strength comes entirely from you, not from itself. Jiao Yazi seemed to know that Lin Yi would ask this question. He laughed and said, so it can only be called a yellow class inner chi master dog. Yellow class inner chi master dog? Lin Yi repeated this nondescript name and looked at Jiao Yazi confusedly. What does that mean? It's simple. It's the same as other golden class inner chi masters. It has the strength of a golden class inner chi master, but it doesn't know how to cultivate. It can't absorb energy by itself, and it can't level up by itself. To put it bluntly, it's a master that you created. It will be the same as you created it in the future. Jiao Yazi explained. As for why the energy in its body suddenly surged back into your body, that's even simpler. Because it was created by you. All the energy in its body comes from you. It's like you're placing your energy in its body. When you don't need it, it can borrow your energy to become a golden class dog. But when you need it, you can take it back at will. Chapter 942. Lin Yi was shocked. This was a passive skill. When he used it, both he and General Weiwu would be in a passive state and couldn't be controlled. But isn't the energy in my body omnipotent? If my opponent is injured, will he absorb the energy in General Weiwu's body? Lin Yi suddenly thought of a scary possibility and asked. If this skill was passive, then when others needed energy, would today's scene also happen? No. Jiao Yazi said something in English. Why not? Lin Yi didn't understand. The art of dragon mastery is actually an omnipotent chant for energy conversion. You can use this chant to absorb the energy in nature and the space in the jade pendant into your body, and convert it into the form of pure energy that you need and store it in your body. Jiao Yazi explained. Other people's kung fu is different from yours, so the type of pure energy they need is different too. The energy in your body is called omnipotent because you can use the art of dragon mastery to convert it into any type of energy you need. That's why you can save injured people. But General Weiwu doesn't know the art of dragon mastery. The energy in its body will always be your own energy. Other than you, no one else can use it because it can't convert it. I see. Lin Yi suddenly understood the logic behind it. No wonder General Weiwu's energy didn't need to use the art of dragon mastery to convert it. It was because it was its own energy. General Weiwu didn't cultivate pure energy before, so whatever Lin Yi lost to it was what it was. But it was different for others. Lin Yi's pure energy couldn't be used without the art of dragon mastery. Luckily you held back, or else we'd be in trouble this time. Jiao Yazi sighed. But everything has its own destiny. It's good that you can get through this successfully. But with General Weiwu, I have another trump card to protect my life. It seems like I can still use the true energy bomb. Lin Yi smiled coldly. With this trump card, he could fight against opponents who were a few levels higher than him. But it's better if you don't use it if you can. Jiao Yazi shook his head. Lin Yi was startled as if he was splashed with cold water. First, if it doesn't explode properly and explode into your heart or brain, you won't have to wait for the dog to get energy. You'll die immediately. Jiao Yazi said. Lin Yi nodded with a bitter smile. It was true that this chi bomb was very dangerous. It was the type of bomb that harmed others without benefiting himself. It was basically a sure kill attack that would take the enemy down with itself. Second, if you can't kill your opponent in one blow, he'll kill you. Jiao Yazi said. So, I advise you to increase your strength through cultivation. Don't use such unorthodox methods unless you have no other choice. I understand. Lin Yi nodded. You're right. Only by increasing your strength is true strength. It's fine to use these methods when you have no other choice, but if you keep using them, you'll be harming yourself and others. It's good that you've thought it through. Jiao Yazi smiled and nodded. General Weiwu, who was beside Lin Yi, was rapidly absorbing the energy from Lin Yi's body. It snuggled comfortably next to Lin Yi, enjoying the nourishment of the energy. Before this, General Weiwu's heart almost exploded from fear. It was just reluctant to leave Lin Yi and wanted to be close to Lin Yi for the last time. However, it didn't expect that once it touched Lin Yi's body, the energy in General Weiwu's body was uncontrollably absorbed by Lin Yi. Although General Weiwu didn't know what was going on, it was instinctively afraid. Previously, it obtained an unknown energy from Lin Yi which made it extremely strong. It could kill a person with one kick. Now that the energy returned to Lin Yi's body, how could it not be afraid? However, General Weiwu didn't think of struggling to escape. Although it was afraid, when it saw Lin Yi's inexplicably comfortable expression, it knew that what happened now was probably beneficial to Lin Yi. General Weiwu was a loyal dog. Its life was saved by Lin Yi and its strength was given by Lin Yi. Therefore, if Lin Yi wanted to take it back, he could take it back anytime. General Weiwu was afraid, but it didn't complain. Therefore, General Weiwu persisted until the last bit of energy entered Lin Yi's body before it fainted. It didn't know if it could survive, but if Lin Yi could recover, he could protect Yao Yao and Shu. After some time, General Weiwu woke up again. What surprised it was that the familiar energy that could increase its strength was continuously flowing into its body from Lin Yi's body. This was similar to the first time he received the energy, but this time, Lin Yi was lying down as if he was in a deep sleep. General Weiwu subconsciously thought that it absorbed the energy that entered Lin Yi's body. It wanted to jump away, but it realized that it couldn't. Its body seemed to be glued to Lin Yi's body. General Weiwu was shocked, but when it saw that Lin Yi's face was rosy and there was nothing wrong with him, it laid down quietly and accepted the energy that came from Lin Yi's body. After some time, General Weiwu started to feel uncomfortable because it could clearly feel that the energy in its body was almost full, but the energy that came from Lin Yi's body was still flowing into its body. Boom! General Weiwu was furious. It felt like it was going to explode from Lin Yi's energy. The next moment, it fainted beside Lin Yi, not knowing what was going on anymore. This time, Lin Yi, who was in the jade space, was shocked. He didn't know how much energy General Weiwu needed to recover, so he kept sending energy to it. As long as it could receive the energy, he would pour it in. In the end, he didn't control the amount and caused General Weiwu to explode. Chapter 943. Run together because General Weiwu leveled up. General Weiwu, who was a golden class early phase dog, leveled up several times. It became a golden class late phase peak dog. Lin Yi's eyes widened in shock. Seriously? Just because he lost all his strength, he became a golden class late phase peak dog when he infused his energy into General Weiwu's body again. It was even stronger than Ling Shan? Are you kidding me? I can just casually create a dog with the strength of the peak of the golden class. How can those masters of the golden class endure this? However, Lin Yi didn't have time to think about it. He entered the training space once he knew that General Weiwu was fine. He couldn't wait to recover his strength. Plus, General Weiwu could level up after going through the process, but what about Lin Yi? It seemed like every time he leveled up, he would be injured or his energy would be sucked dry. Once all the energy entered his body, he would be able to break through the bottleneck of the next level. Lin Yi had never heard of this method of leveling up, but it was effective for him and General Weiwu. Lin Yi entered the jade space and activated the art of dragon mastery again. The energy entered Lin Yi's body again, but this time, it was all for Lin Yi's own use. Lin Yi could even feel the feeling of fullness when the energy filled up his meridians. It was extremely comfortable. When Peng Zhan returned to the villa, he saw Meng Yao and Yushu sitting on the sofa in the living room, spacing out. They weren't watching TV, nor were they doing anything else. They were just spacing out. Meng Yao, Shu. Peng Zhan walked in. Did Lin Yi leave already? Peng Zhan thought that Lin Yi had left the villa, and his daughter and Shu were a little sad. They were spacing out on the sofa. Daddy, you're back. Meng Yao snapped out of her daze and looked up at Peng Zhan. And Daddy's back. Peng Zhan's heart ached as he looked at his tired daughter. He hadn't been able to give her a happy life. Although Meng Yao didn't lack anything in terms of material goods, he still owed her too much in terms of kinship. The child had lost her mother since she was young, and Peng Zhan had been busy with his career, so he didn't have time to take care of her. In the blink of an eye, she was already so big. Peng Zhan never really understood what his daughter's life was like. And so this time Peng Zhan had made up his mind. No matter what, He would help his daughter find her own happiness. He would accompany his daughter to escape with Lin Yi. Daddy, Lin Yi didn't leave, he's in his room. Mingyao didn't know how to explain as she didn't know why Lin Yi didn't leave, and went back to his room all of a sudden. Oh, little Yi didn't leave? Doesn't he have a train at 6 tonight? It's already 7. If he didn't leave, he wouldn't be able to catch the train. Pengzhan paused as he looked at his watch. I don't know, this is what happened. Mingyao told her father about the weird things that happened before Lin Yi left. Yeah, it's weird. Shield Bro and General Weiwu have been in the room for more than 4 hours, and they still haven't come out. I wonder what they're doing? Yushu added. Oh, what's Little Yi doing? Could it be that his injuries are acting up? Pengzhan frowned. Otherwise, with Lin Yi's personality, normal things wouldn't affect his schedule. Yeah, I'm worried too. Mingyao nodded, her face showing an anxious expression. General Weiwu is very strong, but Lin Yi is a normal person now. I'm afraid that General Weiwu will kick Lin Yi hard like before. It might injure Lin Yi badly. I see. Pengzhan's face turned serious after hearing Mingyao's analysis. If that was the case, then it was hard to say. Otherwise, why would Lin Yi suddenly change his mind and run into the room in a hurry before leaving? Ah, will Shield Bro be in danger? Yushu panicked after hearing Mingyao's words. Logically speaking, there shouldn't be any danger. Otherwise Lin Yi would definitely tell us to do something. Mingyao shook her head. He only told us not to disturb him. Maybe he can heal himself. Then it seems like we can only wait for him here. Pengzhan sighed. That's great. When Little Yi wakes up, we can leave together. Leave together? Mingyao was slightly taken aback as she looked at her father, not understanding. Yeah, Daddy has decided to bring you and Little Yi back to his old home to seek refuge. Pengzhan smiled. Return to his old home to seek refuge? Mingyao was taken aback as she repeated. We're going back too? What about your company? You don't want it anymore? I don't want to go to school anymore. Yao, Daddy has already made up his mind, so I won't hide it from you anymore. Pengzhan smiled bitterly. These few days, Daddy hasn't been having a good time either. Little Yi is injured, and after Daddy's enemies found out about it, they've come looking for me. Mingyao was shocked. They got the news so quickly? What do they want from you? The first wave is from Yanjing's Xiao family. They're using the fact that you humiliated Xiao family's daughter-in-law, Go Huli, to ask me to give them 200 million as compensation, along with Pengzhan Commercial Building and Pengzhan Hotel. Pengzhan smiled bitterly. He was going to leave anyway, and the company was about to be abandoned. There was no harm in telling Yao. Go Huli. I understand. Is it because of me? Mingyao's face was filled with guilt after hearing her father's words. Daddy, it's all my fault. Haha, it's not your fault. Xiao family is considered to be down and out among the noble houses, but a starving camel is still bigger than a horse. They wanted to come to Songshan and look for trouble. What happened to you was just an excuse. Why would Daddy blame you? Besides, Little Yi said that it's not our fault. Pengzhan smiled, not caring at all. Chapter 944. Tailor-made. Mingyao knew that it wasn't her and Shu's fault. This was just an excuse to make things difficult for the Xiao family. Without this excuse, perhaps the Xiao family could find other excuses. The second wave of people was Zhao Qibing's men. Pengzhan smiled bitterly. My grudge with Zhao Qibing has been going on for a long time. He sent people to kidnap you many times, and even tried to kill you and Shu at the theme park. Little Yi suppressed him. But now that Little Yi is in trouble, he'll naturally retaliate. But his appetite isn't that big, and he only asked for the real estate company under Pengzhan Industries. Mingyao nodded. How come she didn't know about Zhao Qibing? This person had a huge grudge with her family, with Lin Yi. She wouldn't believe it if he didn't come looking for her now. The third wave of people was from Yanjing's Houseyu. Pengzhan continued. Houseyu? Who are they? Mingyao felt that the name was familiar, but she didn't know where she heard of this family. Houseyu once broke into your villa and injured General Weiwu. Have you forgotten? Pengzhan reminded. At that time, you were agitated and asked Little Yi to kill the murderer, but Little Yi showed mercy and let him live. Ah, then why didn't he thank Lin Yi? Why did he come looking for trouble? Mingyao was reminded of Yu Kuan when her father reminded her. Yukuan's arrogant expression was still vivid in her mind. Thinking about it made Mengyao feel uncomfortable. What's the point of reasoning with them? Pengzhan sighed and shook his head. House Yu's conditions are even more ridiculous this time. Not only do they want you to marry into House Yu's family, but they also want Yukuan, who was injured by little E, as a concubine, and all of Pengzhan Industries' shares as dowry. Ah? Why? Mengyao stood up angrily. I'm not marrying into their family. Yeah, that's why we can't fight them, but we can hide from them. Pengzhan smiled. That's why I'm going to escape with you and little E. Mengyao's heart skipped a beat when she heard her father's decision. Mengyao couldn't help but curse inwardly. Her family was being pressured to this extent. What was there for her to be happy about? They were going to flee for their lives. But Mengyao was still a little happy. How can they be so arrogant? Daddy, can't we call the police? Rationally, Mengyao told herself that she couldn't leave. After all, Pengzhan Industries was her father's blood, sweat and tears. How could she just give it up like that? These noble houses, many of their ways of doing things are outside of the laws. It's useless even if we call the police. They're only planning a crime, they haven't actually carried it out. Pengzhan smiled bitterly. Plus, they might kill us to vent their anger if we anger them, and they might even use some illegal methods to rob us of our assets. Ah! Mengyao was startled. She didn't know how powerful these noble houses were, but from her father's words, she could roughly understand that even if these noble houses really did do something to her, they wouldn't be in any trouble. At most, they would have a scapegoat to take the blame. So, we can only flee for our lives. We'll have to give our assets to them eventually, but are you going to marry into House Yu? Pengzhan asked. I don't want to. Mengyao shook her head. How could she marry into House Yu? That's right, so we'll wait for Lin Yi to come out, and then we'll leave Songshan together. We don't want anything here. Pengzhan was a man who did big things. He left decisively, not even touching the company's money. He didn't want to alert his enemies, and they wouldn't be able to escape. This way, no one would think that Pengzhan would leave Songshan with Mengyao without taking a single cent with him. All right. Mengyao nodded, pleased with herself. Oh, bring me, I want to go too. Yushu didn't want to do it. Yao Yao was leaving with Shield Bro. What was the point of her staying here alone? Okay, I'll bring you. Mengyao didn't want to be separated from Shu, so she nodded and agreed. Pengzhan looked at Yushu, wanting to say something, but didn't say anything in the end. It was her own choice, and he couldn't interfere. Thinking of his father's words, Pengzhan understood. It was House Chu who'd climbed up to Lin Yi, not Lin Yi who'd climbed up to House Chu. Jiang Wen waited for a whole day and didn't get any calls from Pengzhan. He couldn't help but start panicking, cursing in his heart. What were Pengzhan's enemies doing? Hurry up and continue pressuring Pengzhan. If you don't pressure him, and he doesn't get nervous, how can he ask for my help? Jiang Wen couldn't take it anymore, so he secretly sent a message to House Yu Shuixing, saying that Pengzhan was escaping and was secretly moving his assets. He asked him to go check it out. The reason why he didn't send the message to Xiao family and Zhao Qibing was because they only asked for money and assets from Pengzhan. They hadn't touched Pengzhan's bottom line yet. Pengzhan would only think of resisting if someone wanted to touch Mengyao. This was just a random excuse Jiang Wen came up with. And the goal was for House Yu to pressure Pengzhan. But Jiang Wen didn't think that he'd be able to hit the nail on the head with his random words. Although Pengzhan didn't move his assets, he was really planning to escape. In this critical period, House Yu would rather believe it than not. They were afraid that Pengzhan would run away with the assets, and it would be troublesome to find him. This was a big country, and he might even escape to a foreign country, making it even harder to find him. And so, House Yu decided to go to Pengzhan first thing in the morning. If Pengzhan didn't agree, they'd just rob him. Under the situation where House Chu didn't have any masters, wouldn't they be at their mercy? They'd just make him sign a share transfer agreement and bring Mengyao back to Yanjing's House Yu. And this trip would be worth it. What made House Yu feel regretful was that the power behind Lin Yi didn't show up these 2 days. Could it be that Lin Yi didn't have any power behind him, and everything was just House Yu's guess? But this was even better. House Yu could deal with House Chu with even more impunity. After dealing with House Chu, Lin Yi's death was the only thing that awaited him. Lin Yi was just a normal person, and killing him would be a piece of cake. With that thought, Yu Bide couldn't wait to kill Lin Yi to avenge his son. Chapter 945. He must stay. Third uncle, why don't the hidden power behind Lin Yi come out when House Chu's in this state? Are they giving up on Pingzhan? Yu Haitian asked Yu Bide, confused. This I'm not too sure. My analysis is that Lin Yi doesn't have any background at all, so I suggest that we go to Pingzhan's house later and kill Lin Yi. Yu Bide hated Lin Yi to the bone. He came here to avenge his son, but for the benefit of the house he didn't dare to do it directly. But now Pingzhan was forced into a corner, and the power behind Lin Yi hadn't come out yet. This proved that Lin Yi didn't have any power behind him. Killing Lin Yi is naturally good, but Lin Yi and Guan Xiumin's relationship seems to be quite good. If we kill Lin Yi, it means we're not giving Guan Xiumin face. That's not good, is it? After all, Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company is in the limelight, and they've released many miraculous medicines. They'll be the target of the noble houses in the future. Yu Haitian analyzed. It doesn't matter how we step on House Chu, but when it comes to Lin Yi, it's better to be careful. So what if he's close to Guan Xiumin? Guan Xiumin didn't stand out to protect him. We can completely ignore this relationship. Yu Bide smiled coldly. When the time comes, we'll kill him. Guan Xiumin won't be able to say anything. He won't cause trouble for House Yu, will he? I think it's better to discuss this with second uncle. Yu Haitian said carefully. Alright. I'll call second brother now and ask for his opinion. Yu Bide nodded. He could ignore Yu Haitian's suggestion, but he had to listen to his second brother's suggestion. His second brother was very rational, and he considered things from a comprehensive perspective. Yu Bide dialed Shuixing's number and told him what had happened, telling him that he was going to House Chu tomorrow morning to kill Lin Yi while he was at it. No. Shuixing shook his head after hearing Bide's words. Third brother, we shouldn't make a move against Lin Yi right now. What? Yu Bide was stunned and asked. If there is a force behind Lin Yi, why haven't they jumped out yet? Bide, you haven't thought things through thoroughly enough. Shuixing said. It looks like Lin Yi has an unusual relationship with the Chu family on the surface, but that's just a personal relationship between Lin Yi and the Chu family. It doesn't mean that the power behind Lin Yi will help the Chu family. If Lin Yi only came out to gain experience, then he should be going back soon, and the Chu family might have been abandoned. Oh, Yu Bide paused. That makes sense. I was too reckless. Man, this Lin Yi, it's annoying just looking at him. Haha, there's no rush. If Lin Yi really doesn't have any power behind him, then he'll become a ghost under your hands sooner or later. But if he does, then we'll let him be for now. We'll make a decision after we investigate his background. Shuixing said. All right, I'll stomp House Chu to death first. Yu Bide said hatefully, putting all his anger on House Chu. Since he couldn't kill Lin Yi, then House Chu would be his punching bag. And that dog that caused his son's death, he'd kill it too. House Chu's villa. Chu Pingzhan looked at the clock in the living room anxiously. It was already 5 in the morning, and there was still no news from Lin Yi's room. He couldn't help but panic. Today was the deadline that Xiao family, Zhao Qibing, and House Yu gave him. If Lin Yi didn't leave by this deadline, then he wouldn't be able to leave. House Xiao and House Yu were still manageable, but if House Yu came, Mingyao wouldn't be able to leave, would she? Daddy, what's wrong? Why do you look so anxious? Mingyao asked curiously as she looked at Pingzhan, who kept looking at the time. Today is the day that Xiao family, House Yu, and Zhao Qibing agreed to meet. I'm afraid that they'll come after daybreak, and then we won't be able to leave. Pingzhan sighed, but he didn't hide it. At a time like this, he had to let Mingyao be mentally prepared. Yao Yao, why don't you leave with Xu first? I'll stay here, and Lily can guard here? Pingzhan said helplessly. Could it be that this was fate? Lily was fine before, but something happened just before he left. However, Pingzhan didn't hate Lin Yi. He knew very well what would happen if he let his daughter leave first. House Yu might vent their anger on him and kill him directly. But, how could Pingzhan watch his daughter be taken away by House Yu? If his daughter was taken to House Yu as a concubine, she might commit suicide because of the humiliation. If his daughter died, how could he live alone? How would he have the face to see Won'er again? Was he a qualified father if he couldn't even protect his own daughter? So, Pengzhan would rather sacrifice himself than let anything happen to his daughter. No, I'm not leaving. Mingyao shook her head. Yao Yao, listen to me, don't be stubborn. If you don't leave, House Yu will take you away forcefully. Daddy won't be able to do anything then. Pengzhan frowned and said seriously, if Lily sees this, he won't be able to do anything about it. But do you know what will happen if he stands out forcefully? You'll be harming Lily. No. Mingyao shook her head. Daddy, you're right. But think about it. If House Yu comes and they don't see me, who else will they vent their anger on other than you? You know, although I ordered Yu Kuren to be killed, the one who did it was Lin Yi. If House Yu doesn't see me, will they let you and Lin Yi go so easily? Pengzhan had been thinking about himself and wanted to end this grudge with his own death, but after hearing his daughter's words, he suddenly remembered that Lin Yi was the one who injured Yu Kuren. If that was the case, House Yu wouldn't be able to see Yao Yao and they wouldn't let Lin Yi go. Chapter 946. Give me 10 billion. Okay. Pengzhan nodded in agreement after seeing his daughter's determination. He understood his daughter's personality. She wouldn't change her mind once she made up her mind. But Shu, she's innocent. Shu, why don't you go back to your villa? No, if Yao Yao sis and Shield Bro die, then there's no point in me living. Yushu shook her head. Alright, you stay here then. Pengzhan thought that even if Yushu stayed here, House Yu wouldn't dare to touch her. Yushu was from House Chen. Although House Chen had fallen, with Elder Chen retiring and Chen Yutian not doing much, House Chen was still an old noble house with influence in the military. As long as House Yu didn't want to fall out with them, they wouldn't dare to offend House Chen at this time. Time passed, and it was 6:30 in the morning. There was still no news from Lin Yi's room. Pengzhan couldn't take it anymore. He walked over and wanted to knock on the door, but he hesitated and put his ear on Lin Yi's door, trying to listen for any movement inside. But to Pengzhan's disappointment, there was no movement from Lin Yi's room. Was Lin Yi healing himself? Pengzhan didn't know, but he was sure that Lin Yi had something he hadn't finished yet, and it was something extremely important. Otherwise, he wouldn't have stayed in his room for so long, not only not coming out, but also without any news. It seemed that Lin Yi didn't have the time to explain. He rushed into the room, and the only thing he left was, "Don't disturb him." So Pengzhan hesitated and didn't knock on the door. He returned to the sofa and sat down, waiting for Lin Yi to come out on his own. But something unexpected happened. Bang! The door of the villa was kicked open by a huge force. Pengzhan, Mingyao, and Yushu, who were sitting on the sofa, jumped in fright. Pengzhan's heart tightened. What was supposed to happen had finally happened. He didn't know who came first, but it had to be Xiao family, Zhao Qibing, or House Yu. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been so arrogant as to barge in without even knocking. Pengzhan had been prepared for this to happen, but he still felt that it was a little too early. It wasn't even 7 in the morning, and the enemy was already so impatient? What a bunch of greedy and impatient people. Pengzhan, you've got guts, haven't you? I heard that you wanted to escape with your daughter? You really didn't go to the company and hid at your daughter's place. Yu Haitian sneered and said sarcastically. However, can the Monkey King escape from Buddha's Five-Finger Mountain? Yu Haitian and Yu Bide went to Pengzhan's place first. Their hearts skipped a beat when they realized that Pengzhan wasn't there. Did he really escape? They rushed to Mingyao's place and saw that Pengzhan's car was parked in front of the villa. Haitian and Yu Bide were even more certain that Pengzhan was planning to escape with his daughter. Otherwise, why would he come to Mingyao's place instead of waiting for them at the company in the morning? Pengzhan's heart sank when he heard Haitian's voice. He didn't expect that the first to come would be the most troublesome House Yu. If it were Xiao family or Zhao Qibing's men, it would be easy to deal with them. As long as he gave them the property they wanted, there wouldn't be a problem. But House Yu didn't just want the property, they also wanted their daughter. If I wanted to escape, would I be sitting here waiting for you? Although Pengzhan was panicking, he forced himself to be calm. If you wanted to leave, wouldn't you have left a long time ago? Humph, cut the bullshit. What do you think of my condition? Yu Bide interrupted Pengzhan and asked directly. I can give all the shares to House Yu for free, but I hope that House Yu can let my daughter go. Peng Zhan knew that he couldn't leave, so he made his last struggle. Let her go. What a joke. Yu Bide humphed coldly. When your daughter let that bastard Lin Yi kill my son, why didn't she think of letting him go? Didn't Lil Yi open one side of the net to save your son's life? Peng Zhan said. Neither servile nor overbearing. Yeah, because my son didn't die, I let your daughter serve him as a concubine. I let her go too, otherwise, I would have killed your daughter and let her marry my son. Yu Bide glared at Peng Zhan and said angrily. Mr. Yu, speaking of this, it was your son who barged into my daughter's villa without permission. Peng Zhan argued. This was the last moment, and he knew that reasoning with House Yu wouldn't work, but he had to fight for it. If House Yu really took Meng Yao away, then House Chu would be finished. What? You're saying that House Yu is at fault? You're saying that my son asked for it. Is that what you're saying? Do you dare to say that again? Yu Bide's face instantly revealed a sinister expression. I didn't say that. I just hope that you can let my daughter go, Mr. Yu. Meng Yao sighed and said. If you're willing to let my daughter go, I'll agree to whatever you ask for. All right, give House Yu 10 billion, and I'll let your daughter go. How's that? Fair, right? I'll buy my life with money. Yu Bide laughed. Peng Zhan's face turned red. House Yu's conditions were unreasonable. 10 billion. Where was he going to get 10 billion for him? Wasn't he purposely making things difficult for him? What's wrong, Mr. Chu? You don't want to buy your life with money. Yu Bide sneered. If that's the case, then don't say that I didn't give you a chance. Peng Zhan took in a deep breath and tried to calm himself down. He couldn't get angry. Peng Zhan reminded himself that this wasn't the time to go against House Yu. He had to hold it in. He had to hold it in. Mr. Yu, 10 billion, aren't you forcing me? Peng Zhan asked in a low voice. What, Peng Zhan? Do you think your daughter isn't worth 10 billion? Yu Bide asked. Chapter 947. Recovery. Breakthrough. Don't blame me for not giving you a chance if you can't. Yu Bide said coldly. Which one of them is your daughter? Are they pretty? They're perfect as my son's concubine. Mr. Yu, please leave some leeway when you do things, don't push things too far. There's a saying that things will go in the opposite direction when pushed to the extreme. I wonder if you've heard of it? Peng Zhan had no other choice but to threaten him. Oh. Yu Bide looked at Peng Zhan with interest and laughed. So you're threatening me? I wouldn't dare. Peng Zhan was furious, but there was nothing he could do. He could only compromise. I'm just saying something that hasn't changed since ancient times. Ha. Reasoning with me? Haitian, did you hear that? He's reasoning with me? Ha 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 ha. Yu Bide laughed without restraint. He said to leave some leeway when I do things, don't push things too far. Did you hear that? Third uncle, I heard that. Haitian nodded with a smile. Do you think it's funny? Yu Bide mocked. Funny, this is too funny. Haitian also laughed out loud. Yu Bide changed the topic and looked at Peng Zhan coldly. I don't leave any leeway when I do things. I'm going to push things too far. What can you do? What do you want? What do you want? Stare at me? Are you going to explode? Ha 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 ha. Yu Bide looked at Peng Zhan's helpless face and felt a sense of satisfaction, as if he had vented his anger. If it wasn't for Shuaixing stopping him from killing Lin Yi, he would have killed Peng Zhan first before going after Lin Yi. The pleasure brought by humiliating others made Yu Bide feel great. Peng Zhan's face turned purple. House Yu didn't listen to reason at all. There was no logic to speak of. Peng Zhan's chest heaved up and down. He was so angry that he couldn't speak. In Lin Yi's room in the jade pendant, Lin Yi's face couldn't help but show some anxiety. Although Lin Yi's body was in the jade pendant, his whole body was awake. Whatever happened outside, Lin Yi heard it clearly. Lin Yi also heard the conversation between Peng Zhan and Meng Yao in the living room. Peng Zhan's words touched Lin Yi a lot, and the miss and Shu following him touched him as well. Lin Yi didn't think that Peng Zhan's situation had reached this point. The Xiao family and Zhao Qibing's men had come to his doorstep, even House Yu's men. Moreover, House Yu even wanted to take Miss away as a concubine. They really dared to dream. Although Miss wasn't Lin Yi's woman, Peng Zhan's attitude made Lin Yi feel that taking care of Miss was his responsibility. Even if he took 10,000 steps back, he was still Miss's bodyguard. How could he let House Chu take Miss away? Alright, since you guys are so arrogant, then each and every one of you will pay the price for your arrogance. However, Linny was very anxious. His strength hadn't recovered yet, and Linny really couldn't stand up for Miss right now. Hurry up a little more. Linny was in the jade pendant space, absorbing the energy crazily. Hearing that Houseu was closing in, Linny wanted to rush out right now, but Linny knew that it wasn't enough yet. The moment he went out, it would be the death of these people. So recovering his strength was very important. Linny gritted his teeth. The energy in the jade pendant space surged into his body, and as Lin Yi's art of dragon mastery circulated faster and faster, the energy became stronger and stronger. Lin Yi's eyes opened abruptly. The energy in his body had reached its saturation state before his strength dropped. Finally recovered. His strength was finally back. However, Lin Yi didn't stop the circulation of the art of dragon mastery. Lin Yi knew that according to his past experience, every time he lost his strength, he could absorb some energy into his body after he recovered, and it was very likely that his strength would break through. But if he stopped and practiced again, there wouldn't be such an effect. So Lin Yi continued to absorb the energy in the jade pendant space because Lin Yi could clearly feel that although his body was saturated with energy, he could still absorb it. The energy around Lin Yi was getting more and more, and the energy around Lin Yi was fluctuating rapidly as Lin Yi absorbed more and more energy, forming a whirlpool around Lin Yi. On Lin Yi's face, an expression of extreme pain appeared. He felt that his body was about to explode, and the energy in his body was reaching its limit. If he didn't release it soon, he'd explode like a balloon. But Lin Yi didn't stop the circulation of the art of dragon mastery. Instead, he gritted his teeth and increased the speed of his cultivation. The energy around Lin Yi was mobilized again, and it quickly rushed into Lin Yi's body, and the energy in Lin Yi's body rose to a new height. As the energy in his body gathered more and more, Lin Yi's face showed a strange flush, and it looked a little strange through the energy whirlpool. Soon, really soon, Lin Yi snorted. Let the storm come fiercer. Boom. With a loud bang, Lin Yi felt like his whole body was about to fly into the sky. Under the huge impact of the energy in his body, the barrier between levels collapsed at this moment. Instantly, more energy rushed into Lin Yi's body, but this time, it didn't feel like he was about to burst his limit, but instead, there was a very comfortable, nourishing feeling, breakthrough. After the breakthrough, Lin Yi's meridians could absorb more energy. The energy whirlpool around Lin Yi was getting weaker and weaker, and most of it was absorbed by Lin Yi's body. Lin Yi's face turned from red to healthy, and Lin Yi jumped up from his bed. Was this the power of the middle phase of the Mystic Division? As expected, it was a world of difference from the peak of the early phase of the Mystic Division. No wonder it was so difficult for him to defeat a physical master, who was at the peak of the middle phase of the Mystic Division. Sometimes, the difference of one level was the difference between victory and defeat. Lin Yi let out a breath and patted General Weiwu. It's time, General Weiwu, this time we will be the main characters. Woof woof. General Weiwu, who was in a coma, seemed to feel the powerful and majestic aura from Lin Yi. And it woke up. It barked at Lin Yi happily. Chapter 948. Two choices, double payback. Although it was only one level, Lin Yi was already satisfied. One had to know that the higher the level, the harder it was to break through. Some people couldn't even take a step forward in their entire life. And Lin Yi wasn't even 20 years old. And he already had the strength of a mystic mid-phase. This was unimaginable among the noble houses and hidden houses. In the villa's living room, Pengzhan looked at the tyrannical Ubaid sadly. Although he knew that there was no way to reason with Houseu, anyone would want to try their luck. Now that it seemed like there was no other way, Pengzhan could only smile bitterly. Ubaid, you've gone too far. The heavens are watching what you do. Sooner or later, this revenge will fall on your Houseu's head. Haha, I'll be waiting for that day. Let me see where the revenge is. Ubaid didn't care about Pengzhan's words at all. This world was a world where the strong lived. The weak were prey to the strong. This was an unchanging rule. He laughed and turned to Mengyao and Yushu. Which one of you is Mengyao? You can come with me now. Mengyao took a deep breath and stood up slowly. Her eyes showed determination. I am. Good, then you can come with me now. Bide nodded. He was quite satisfied with Yushu as well. He couldn't help but ask regretfully, "Who are you?" "She's from House Chen. If you dare to touch her, you can bring her back too." Mengyao looked at Bide mockingly and said faintly, "House Chen?" Bide's expression froze. He suddenly remembered that the granddaughter of House Chun, Yushu, and Pengzhan's daughter were good friends. Although House Chun had fallen, it was still one of the noble houses. Bide didn't dare to provoke them. He laughed. "House Chun and House Yu have no grudges. Why would I want to capture her? I want to capture you. If you're not afraid that I'll kill your son, then bring me back." Mengyao raised her head and looked at Bide as if she was facing death. Yes, Mengyao was stalling for time. Just now, Shu secretly hinted to her to stall for time and wait for Shield Bro. Although Mengyao didn't know why Yushu was so confident all of a sudden, she still did as she was told. Shu may be crazy, but Mengyao had to admit that a lot of the words that came out of her mouth turned into reality. It was not an exaggeration to call her Prophet Shu. In fact, Yushu didn't know why she was so confident in Shield Bro, but the two barks reminded her of the day Lin Yi brought General Weiwu to the room for treatment after he was injured. When General Weiwu recovered and Lin Yi walked out of the room, Yushu also heard two excited barks from General Weiwu. It was a happy barking, just like today. "How dare you?" Bide's face turned ugly after hearing Mingyao's words. "Do you believe that I'll kill your entire family right now?" "I don't believe you." A faint voice rang out. Although it was not loud, it was filled with confidence. It was Lin Yi. Mengyao turned her head in disbelief and saw Lin Yi walk out of the room, a faint smile on his face that made her want to beat him up. At his feet was General Weiwu, full of vigor and vigor. Pengzhan was shocked as well. He didn't think that Lin Yi would walk out of the room at this time, and to stand up for his daughter. Could he deal with House Yu? Pengzhan was afraid that House Yu would harm Lin Yi in a fit of rage. Yushu, on the other hand, was very excited. She felt that her prophecy was successful again. "Lin Yi, you still dare to come out? I thought you ran away." Bide didn't put Lin Yi in his eyes at all. From his point of view, if he didn't look for trouble with Lin Yi would already be burning incense. How dare Lin Yi take the initiative to come out? Did he really think that House Yu wouldn't dare to kill him? "House Yu, I heard that you want all of Uncle Chu's Pengzhan Industries shares?" Lin Yi ignored Bide's sarcasm and asked indifferently, "So what if I am? You have a problem with that?" Bide asked coldly. "Oh, I have a part of Uncle Chu's shares. You didn't even ask me before you took it?" Lin Yi's tone was still calm, but it was full of accusation. "You still want to forcefully bring Yao Yao to House Yu to be a concubine? Are you out of your mind? Lin Yi, do you want to die?" Bide's eyes burned with fire. He couldn't take it anymore. Although his second brother advised him not to act recklessly against Lin Yi, at this moment, he only wanted to kill Lin Yi. Even if the power behind Lin Yi came out to punish him, it was Lin Yi's own fault for being a busybody. What did it have to do with him? "You don't have to care whether I die or not." Lin Yi looked at Bide with disdain. "But I know that you are going to die soon. Now I'll give you two choices. The first choice is to give me all of House Yu's shares, and some shares of other businesses. Then, I'll have two girls from House Yu come over to be my concubines. The second choice, you die." Ha! Bide was amused by Lin Yi's words. He didn't think that Lin Yi would dare to say something like this. Who did he think he was? Even if he had other powers behind him, he was just a useless person. A useless person saying something like this. Wasn't he tired of living? "Oh, Shield Bro, you're awesome. I'm the concubine now. I can have a concubine to order around." Yushu shouted excitedly. Mengyao couldn't help but smile as well. Lin Yi's conditions were basically giving back double of what House Yu had asked for. She didn't know where Lin Yi got his confidence from. Could it be that he recovered his strength? But when Mengyao saw the confident smile on Lin Yi's face, she felt relieved. "It's over, it's finally over, isn't it? Everything will be fine." Pengzhan was surprised as well. He wasn't stupid. He noticed that something was amiss. Lin Yi became stronger. Extremely stronger. Only the idiot Bide didn't realize why Lin Yi became so strong. Hatred filled his mind. He smiled coldly. "Aren't you afraid of losing your tongue? Give you House Yu's businesses? And two, Are you dreaming? Let the girls from House Yu be your concubine. What are you thinking? Are you retarded? I'll give you 3 seconds to think about it. Linny ignored Yu Bai's sarcasm. The countdown starts 3-2. Chapter 949. Killed by a dog. Bang. Before Yu Bai could count to 2.6, he flew backward and spat out a mouthful of blood. He fell heavily from the broken door of the mansion and landed in the yard of the mansion. Everyone was shocked. Yu Haitian looked at Linny in disbelief. Linny sent Yu Bai flying with one palm? How was that possible? Didn't Linny lose his strength? Wasn't he a cripple? Yu Bai's eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. Lin Yi's strength didn't disappear? How was that possible? Plus, he was an early-phase mystic class master, and he couldn't even take one hit from Lin Yi? Lin Yi was only a peak early-phase mystic class master. Even if he was half a level higher than him, it shouldn't be this bad, right? I was too careless. I must have been too careless. Yu Bai felt sad. Fuck, he was tricked by this bastard Lin Yi. He didn't lose his strength at all. He was pretending to be weak. He confused me and attacked me when I wasn't paying attention. That's why I was heavily injured. Early phase mystic class? House Yu doesn't have any masters. The son is useless and the father is useless. Lin Yi waved his hand, a hint of disdain on his face. Can you consider my conditions now? Die or give me 2 properties and 2 concubines from House Yu. Kill me if you have the guts. Yu Bai was pissed off by Lin Yi's words. Although Lin Yi was pretending to be weak, Yu Bai didn't think that Lin Yi would really kill him. He thought that Lin Yi wouldn't dare. General Weiwu, it was his son who almost killed you. Go get revenge on his father now. Lin Yi ordered General Weiwu calmly. Go kill him. Woof woof. General Weiwu wanted to test its strength. How could it let go of such a good opportunity to take revenge? She jumped up from Lin Yi's side and came to Yu Bai's side. Yu Bai gritted his teeth in anger. He didn't dare to kill Lin Yi. First, he wasn't sure of Lin Yi's background. Second, he wasn't a match for Lin Yi at all. He was very depressed, but at this moment, Lin Yi actually sent a dog to disgust him. Yu Bai was instantly enraged and was ready to vent his anger on this dog. Since his son's injury was caused by this dog, he would use this dog's blood to avenge his son. Yu Bai believed that if he killed a dog, Lin Yi and the forces behind him wouldn't say anything. Therefore, Yu Bai had this mentality. When General Weiwu ran over, he suddenly raised his palm and slapped it. Although Yu Bai was heavily injured, he felt that he only needed a little bit of strength to kill a dog. However, just as Yu Bai slapped, General Weiwu also jumped up and kicked Yu Bai's palm with its hind legs. Pung. Yu Bai's body flew out once again, directly outside the mansion. Yu Bai's body landed heavily on the ground. He twitched a few times and then stopped moving. Therefore, an early-phase mystic class master died under the claws of General Weiwu, who was at the peak of the late phase of Golden Class. With General Weiwu's spiritual strength at the peak of the late phase of Golden Class, killing a severely injured early-phase mystic class master wasn't a problem. Third uncle. Yu Haitian didn't expect Lin Yi to attack just like that. He didn't leave any leeway and let a dog kill Yu Bai in the end. His face immediately revealed a look of fear and horror. Yu Haitian wasn't a martial artist and didn't know any martial arts. At this moment, he was so scared that he didn't dare to say anything disrespectful to Lin Yi. He quickly ran out of the mansion and came to Yu Bai's side. He reached out his hand to feel Yu Bai's breath. Gone. Yu Bai was dead. Yu Haitian was even more scared. This Lin Yi even dared to kill Yu Bai, let alone Yu Haitian. Looking at Lin Yi who followed him out of the mansion, Yu Haitian turned pale. What are you doing? I'm just a follower. I came with third uncle. He's the one in charge. I know you're just a small fry. Lin Yi said faintly. Go back and tell Yu Shuaixing that he owes me 2 business shares and 2 concubines. I, Lin Yi, always keep my words. Tell him to be prepared. But you already killed third uncle. Yu Haitian didn't expect that Lin Yi would continue to bring up such terrifying conditions after killing Yu Bai. The dog killed him, not me. Lin Yi said faintly. Plus, I'm talking about killing your entire family. Not just him. All right, I'll bring these words to him. Yu Haitian nodded sorrowfully. Before, they were the stronger side, but in the blink of an eye, He had to run away with his uncle's corpse. Oh, then why are you still standing here? You can leave now. Don't delay me from dealing with the Xiao family. Lin Yi waved his hand impatiently. Yu Haitian clenched his teeth and carried his uncle's corpse. He quickly got into an SUV in front of the mansion, started the car, and left the mansion. As he drove, Yu Haitian dialed Yanjing's house-use number. Through Yu phone, he found Yu Shuixing. Yu Haitian cried out, "Second uncle, bad news, third uncle was killed." "What did you say? Who was killed?" Yu Shuixing paused, not understanding Yu Haitian's words. "Third uncle. Third uncle was beaten to death." Yu Haitian repeated himself. "Bide. He's dead? How did he die? Who killed him?" Yu Shuixing's face paled when he heard Yu Haitian's words, and even his tone changed. "Yes, third uncle is dead. He was beaten to death by a dog." Yu Haitian felt that something was off. Wah. Yu Shuixing thought that he'd heard wrong. "What did you say? Who killed him?" "Dog." Yu Haitian smiled bitterly. "Dog. You're saying that Bide was killed by a dog? Are you kidding me? Haitian, are you kidding me? It's not April Fool's today, is it?" Yu Shuixing asked in disbelief. After all, this was too unbelievable. His third brother was a mystic early-phase spiritual practitioner. How could he be killed by a dog? "Second uncle, I'm not mistaken. Third uncle really was killed by a dog." Yu Haitian sweated as he recalled the scene. Chapter 951. House Yu shocked, "Yes, uncle, it's the kind of dog that barks." Haitian explained, sweating profusely. "Are you serious? Killed by a dog?" Shuixing felt that Haitian's words were a little unbelievable. A mystic early-phase spiritual practitioner was killed by a dog? "Second uncle, how would I dare to joke about such an important matter?" Haitian said, sweating profusely. "He was killed by the dog called General Weiwu by Lin Yi's side. Wasn't that dog killed by Yu Kuan?" Shuixing paused. "It didn't die. The dog was pretty smart. Lin Yi told it that the father pays the son's debts, so the dog killed uncle." Haitian said. "Your uncle is a mystic early-phase spiritual practitioner. Even a normal person wouldn't be able to kill him that easily, let alone a dog." Shuixing didn't understand. Even if the dog had a high IQ and knew how to get revenge on Yu Bide, it still needed the ability to do so. "Yes, second uncle. I think that dog is not an ordinary dog. Although I am not a cultivator, the powerful aura that came from the dog's body indicates that it is not an ordinary dog," Yu Haitian said with some lingering fear. "So you guys went to cause trouble for Pengzhan today, and then that General Weiwu came out and killed Yu Bide?" Shuixing finally had an idea, but he still didn't believe that a dog could be that strong. "No, uncle, Lin Yi wasn't injured at all, and his strength didn't drop," Haitian said fearfully. "He's a wolf in sheep's clothing. It's been so many days, and there's no news from him at all. Just when third uncle and I were about to go and take Pengzhan's daughter away by force, Lin Yi suddenly showed up and sent third uncle flying with one palm. That General Weiwu rushed over and gave him a kick, and third uncle died just like that. Lin Yi wasn't injured? His strength didn't drop? A dog is a practitioner?" This series of news exploded in Shuixing's ears, and he didn't know what to do. What was going on? Hadn't they already investigated it? Lin Yi was heavily injured and didn't have any strength at all. How did he suddenly recover, and his strength wasn't affected at all? Was he pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger? Did he purposely create the illusion of being injured to lure the enemy over? No. Shuixing frowned. It was possible that Lin Yi was a wolf in sheep's clothing, but that dog couldn't possibly do that. Yu Kuan had already said that he killed the dog, and its internal organs were all destroyed. Even if he could save it, it would be a cripple. How was it possible that it became a training dog? Shuixing thought of a terrifying possibility. Lin Yi had been injured before, but now he'd recovered, and not only that, he'd become even stronger. It was the same for that dog. It was already injured beyond repair, but now it had actually become a cultivation dog. What kind of great power was behind Lin Yi? Even the hidden houses didn't have this kind of power, right? Not only did he manage to save the lives of a severely injured man and a dying dog, he even gave them more powerful strength. How many heavenly materials and earthly treasures were used, and how many experts were guarding it to achieve such an effect? Shueishing realized that he'd made a huge mistake. He shouldn't have gone to Songshan to join in the fun. If Xiao family wanted to die, then let them be. He could just sit back and watch the tigers fight. Why did he have to get involved? However, there was no medicine for regret in this world. After hearing that his third brother was killed, Shueishing really wanted to cry, but no tears came out. Lin Yi knew how powerful House Yu was, and yet he dared to kill Yu Bide. There were only two possibilities. One was that he was rash, and the other was that Lin Yi had something to rely on. He wasn't afraid of House Yu, or rather, the power behind him wasn't afraid of House Yu. Of course, Shueishing was leaning towards the latter. According to Yu Kuan, Lin Yi wanted to kill him, and it was Li Fu who spoke up that made Lin Yi go easy on him. The first time was fine, but was it possible for him to be rash again? Plus, Lin Yi had been holding back for so many days, waiting for House Yu to mess with him before killing him at the last moment. What was he trying to do? Was he trying to make an example out of him? Haitian, tell me everything that happened in detail. Don't miss out on any details. Shueishing took a deep breath and asked. Yes, uncle, this is what happened. Haitian recounted everything that happened, including what he said to his third uncle, as well as Pingzhan's reaction. In the end, he didn't forget to tell Shueishing about Lin Yi's arrogant demands. This Lin Yi. How arrogant. How dare he threaten House Yu? Shueishing was furious after hearing what Lin Yi had Haitian tell him, but his heart was filled with suspicions. What gave Lin Yi the guts to say something like that? From Pengzhan's reaction, it seemed like he didn't know that Lin Yi's strength had recovered. This meant that Pengzhan might have been tricked by Lin Yi as well. The kid was pretending to be weak, and he didn't tell anyone about his recovery, all for this final burst of power. Scary. What a scary thought process. Shueishing sighed. If Lin Yi was as he guessed, then what was his real goal? Was it against House Yu, Xiao family, or Zhao Qibing? Perhaps, in his eyes, these people were just pawns, and he had a deeper purpose? Yes, uncle, what do we do now? Haitian asked carefully. Bring your uncle's body back to Yanjing immediately, don't bother with what's going on over there. Shueishing was scared, truly scared. House Yu had been running amok for so many years, and no one dared to disrespect them, let alone kill them. But Lin Yi was completely unrestrained, killing one of the core members of House Yu and injuring the other. And he even wanted the shares of House Yu's businesses. What's more, he wanted the two girls of House Yu to be his concubines. Was he dreaming, or did he really have the strength to do that? But no matter what, Shueishing was starting to regret it. For a few map fragments, he'd made such a terrifying enemy. This wasn't House Yu's fortune. Chapter 952. Here comes another one. If Lin Yi didn't have a background, then Shueishing would kill him himself. If he did, then Shueishing would demand justice for his brother and nephew. Even if he had to take the case to the noble house arbitration, he'd sue Lin Yi for going too far. But Shueishing had never once considered whether he'd gone too far when he'd sent people to make things difficult for House Chu. Many people would only think about other people's mistakes, but never their own. Hatred had clouded Shueishing's rationality. He didn't think that his family did anything wrong, and that it was all Lin Yi's fault. But no matter what, Shueishing chose to endure it. He was filled with hatred, but he wouldn't act rashly anymore. EU. Pengzhan was surprised and overjoyed when he saw House Yu running away. He truly didn't think that at the most critical moment for House Chu, when they were about to be destroyed, Lin Yi would turn the situation around in an instant. The arrogant man who wanted to kill his family was killed by Lin Yi, by General Weiwu. At the thought, Pengzhan's face turned weird. Since when did General Weiwu become so strong? He could kill a mystic early-phase spiritual practitioner with one kick? Even if Yu Bide was heavily injured by Lin Yi, he couldn't have been killed by a dog so easily, could he? Could it be that Lin Yi had trained or modified General Weiwu? Ah, sorry I came out late. Lin Yi smiled. But luckily I made it in time, otherwise I might have had to go to Yanjing if Yao Yao was captured. Who asked you to go? I wouldn't have come back myself. Meng Yao blushed. She felt a very sweet feeling in her heart, but on the outside, she didn't seem to care. Didn't you say you lost your strength? How did you become so strong all of a sudden? Well, it's a long story. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. It was a coincidence, I guess. General Weiwu helped me recover my strength. General Weiwu? Helped you regain your strength? Peng Zhan looked at Lin Yi surprised. Does that mean you don't need to go back home? Only then did Lin Yi remember the issue of returning to his hometown. Previously, he was immersed in the joy of recovering his strength, and forgot that he was preparing to return to his hometown. But since Peng Zhan had already resigned, Lin Yi couldn't stay any longer. I'll go back after dealing with these problems. Peng Zhan didn't say anything, but the Miss face changed. She opened her mouth, wanting to say something, but didn't know what to say. She kicked Shu subconsciously. Oh shield bro, you're breaking your promise. Yushu spoke up immediately after Mingyao's signal. Oh, Lin Yi couldn't help but be stunned. How did I go back on my word? We hooked our pinkies before, and you said that if you recovered and became stronger than before, you'd come back to be our bodyguard and stay in the villa forever. Yushu said confidently. Wah. Lin Yi couldn't help but smile bitterly after hearing Yushu's words. Only now did he realize that he had fallen into Yushu's trap. What Yushu said before wasn't out of her own feelings. It was probably premeditated by this girl. Otherwise, why would she say it out so easily? Lin Yi didn't think too much about it at that time. He just casually said a few words to brush off Yushu, but he didn't expect that he would be trapped by that one sentence. Was he going to stay in the villa forever? Haha, I was about to say something to make you stay, but since Shu and Yi have reached an agreement, it seems like my words are unnecessary. I don't need to say anything anymore. Peng Zhan laughed. All right. Lin Yi nodded. There was still some time before the 5-year deadline, so Lin Yi wasn't in a rush to go back home. But he didn't know if Tang Yin would be happy when she found out. Oh, Prophet Shu is amazing, la la la. Yushu shouted excitedly. Mingyao was happy as well, but she didn't show it as obviously as Yushu. She only smiled and said, Lin Yi, then I'll have to trouble you from now on. Lin Yi was just about to tease the miss when footsteps came from the villa's courtyard again. Huh? Another one coming to die? Lin Yi's lips curled into a cold smile. That's good, saves me the trouble of going to them. Xiao family also received news from Jiangwen today, saying that Peng Zhan was planning to escape with Mingyao, and that the company's shares and properties had been secretly transferred out. This made the Xiao family furious. This was also because Jiangwen was afraid that one house you wouldn't be enough pressure for Peng Zhan, so he contacted the Xiao family and told them to pressure Peng Zhan as well. It would be best if Peng Zhan was forced into a corner. Jiangwen appearing at this time would be like a savior, and he wouldn't have to worry about Peng Zhan not agreeing to his terms. And so Xiao Ji and Xiao Ben, along with Uncle Pai, went to Peng Zhan's company after receiving the call, only to find that Peng Zhan wasn't there. It took them a while to get back to Mingyao's villa, only to see Peng Zhan's car. On the way, Xiao Ji called Huli and told her to come to Mingyao's house as well. After all, this was caused by Huli, and it would be good for her to see Peng Zhan's family in such a miserable state. It would be a good way for her to vent her anger. In fact, Xiao Ji really liked this second wife of his. After all, Huli's skills in bed were amazing, and Xiao Ji felt like dying every day. He didn't forget to bring Huli along when he came to Peng Zhan's place to vent his anger. Go Huli was having her beauty treatment outside when she heard that her husband had brought Uncle Pai and his brother-in-law to cause trouble for Peng Zhan. She couldn't be bothered with the treatment any longer. She washed her face and drove her Ferrari home in a hurry. What happened to Peng Zhan's house? Why's the door like this? Xiao Ji looked at Mingyao's villa curiously. Why did the door look like it was kicked to pieces? Could it be that someone is a step ahead of us and is looking for trouble? Xiao Ben frowned. Even Houseu was here, and the Xiao family naturally knew about it as well. They also found out about Houseu's conditions. Houseu wanted all of Peng Zhan Industries' shares, and didn't that include Peng Zhan's business building and hotel? Chapter 953. Don't pretend. That's impossible, right? If Houseu comes, wouldn't we have wasted our efforts? Xiao Ji was getting a little pissed at the thought. He strode into the villa, yelling as he walked, "Where's Peng Zhan? Get out here right now." However, no one in the villa responded. Damn it, is there anyone? Peng Zhan, you old bastard, are you there or not? Xiao Ji was panicking. If Peng Zhan wasn't here, or if he was killed, then who would the Xiao family ask for money from? However, she did not answer him this time. Xiao Ji and Xiao Ben couldn't wait to enter the villa, only to see Pingzhan, Mingyao, and even Linny there. The few of them stood in the living room of the villa, looking at Xiao Ji and the others with a strange expression. What are you looking at? Damn it! Why aren't you answering when I'm talking to you? Are you deaf or scared silly? Xiao Ji felt that Pingzhan and the others were acting a little weird, but he didn't think too much about it. He was here for money and property, after all. How could he get it if he wasn't a little more forceful? Mr. Xiao, I don't know why you're making such a fuss in my daughter's villa. Pingzhan was emboldened. He knew that Linny had recovered his strength, so he wasn't as afraid as before. What can I do for you? Fuck you, Pingzhan, don't play dumb with me. Have you thought about the conditions I gave you last time? 200 million yuan of startup capital, property rights of Pengzhan Commercial Building and Pengzhan Business Hotel. Xiao Ji was a very uncouth person, and he felt a sense of superiority in front of Pengzhan. As a result, cursing and swearing was very pleasurable for him. Especially when he saw Pengzhan's expression of anger, but not daring to speak up. It gave Xiao Ji a great sense of satisfaction. Mr. Xiao, you are also a descendant of an aristocratic family. How can you speak so uncivilly? Pengzhan looked at Xiao Ji mockingly. He felt as if he had vented his frustration. This was the first time he didn't have to look at Xiao Ji's face. Fuck, do I need you to teach me how to speak? If you don't want to die, don't talk nonsense. Are you out of your mind? Xiao Ji didn't want to waste any more time with Pengzhan as he reached out his hand. Are you going to give us 200 million? Linny looked at Xiao Ji and asked calmly. Give it to your mother. Xiao Ji couldn't help but glare at Linny. Who the hell are you? I'm Linny, don't you know me? Linny ignored Xiao Ji's insults and explained in a tone that was neither servile nor overbearing. Linny? Ha ha ha, I know you are that useless trash without strength. You still dare to come out and join the fun? When Xiao Ji heard Linny's name, the expression on his face instantly became incomparably wonderful. He immediately convulsed with laughter. Xiao Ben suddenly felt that something was wrong. He was more meticulous than his brother Xiao Ji, and was the smartest person in the Xiao family. When he saw Linny appear in Pengzhan's expression, there was no fear or anger on his face, only calmness. His heart skipped a beat. No, something was definitely wrong. Xiao Ben frowned and pulled Xiao Ji back, stopping him from continuing. He carefully probed. Pengzhan, did someone come here earlier? Yes. Pengzhan smiled inwardly. This Xiao Ben wasn't an idiot, only realizing that something was wrong now, but it was already too late. Pengzhan knew Lin Yi's personality very well. If the Xiao family had cried and begged for mercy as soon as they came in, and given Lin Yi some conditions, perhaps Lin Yi would let them go. But now that Xiao Ji had completely offended Lin Yi, would Lin Yi still let them go? Is it House Yu? Xiao Ben's face was a little ugly. As far as he was concerned, House Yu must have come and made some sort of agreement with Pengzhan. That was why Pengzhan was so fearless. Even the crippled Lin Yi jumped out. Yes. Pengzhan nodded. What did House Yu give you? Xiao Ben's face darkened. If House Yu was really involved in this, then things wouldn't be good. House Yu gave me the shares of House Yu's auction house and another business, along with 2 House Yu girls as concubines. Lin Yi looked at Xiao Ben and said faintly, now it's your Xiao family's turn. I heard that you asked for 200 million? You also asked for the property rights of Pengzhan Business Tower and Pengzhan Business Hotel? Very well. Give me 400 million, and the property rights of the 4 businesses, and you can get lost. What? Xiao Ben froze, not really understanding what Lin Yi was saying. If House Yu came and asked for benefits, then at the same time, they had secretly agreed to some of Pengzhan's conditions, which would make Pengzhan calm down again. After all, Xiao Ben had heard that House Yu wanted Pengzhan's daughter, Mingyao, to be a concubine, and Pengzhan would be House Yu's father-in-law, so he had the right to be calm. But now it didn't seem to be the case. Lin Yi's words made Xiao Ben feel strange. From Lin Yi's words, it seemed like House Yu had suffered a loss here, and they had no choice but to agree to some conditions. If House Yu and Pengzhan were really on good terms, then would Lin Yi still be able to say such outrageous things? However, Xiao Ben only froze for a moment, and he had an idea. If Lin Yi didn't say such a messy and serious thing, Xiao Ben might be afraid, suspicious. and think that Pengzhan had gotten help from Haosu. But with Lin Yi's words, Xiaoben was relieved. Haosu was a powerful existence after all. They were the #1 noble house among all the noble houses. How could Haosu compensate Pengzhan with the shares of Haosu's auction house and another business? As for Haosu sending 2 girls to be Lin Yi's concubines, that was even more impossible. How noble were the girls of Haosu? Even if they were to marry, they would choose another noble house, and they had to be the legal wife. Why would they be someone's concubine? And so, Xiaoben naturally thought that he had guessed the truth behind Pengzhan's calmness. They must be faking it. Before he came, they had already discussed it, pretending to be so calm, making him think that they had something to rely on, using this to scare him away. Indeed, Pengzhan's expression did scare Xiaoben, but their mistake was to let Lin Yi jump out and say something that seemed so powerful and scary. Lin Yi's words were a little too overboard. Although it was powerful, if it was too powerful, then he would be an idiot. Chapter 954. Chapter 952. A strange scene here. Uncle Pai walked out coldly and looked at Pengzhan. Pengzhan, this old man doesn't want to kill anyone, so I hope you can make the right choice. Wei Zhizuan was barely alive in my hands, but you're too weak. Oh, I heard that you were the one who hit Wei Zhizuan, heavily injuring him? Lin Yi turned to Uncle Pai. That's right, it was me. Do you want to try? Uncle Pai nodded proudly. Oh, I'd have forgotten if you hadn't reminded me. Everything you've done to Uncle Chu, I'll pay you back double. Lin Yi's voice was as calm as ever, without a hint of emotion. But you're too weak in front of me. If I hit you twice, you'd be dead. What did you say, you brat? Uncle Pai was furious after hearing Lin Yi's words. As far as he was concerned, a cripple talking to him like that was suicidal. How about this, seeing that you're doing things for the Xiao family, I won't kill you. Lin Yi said faintly. I'll use 50% of my strength to hit you. And if you can take it, you can leave. I won't make things difficult for you. But if you can't take it, then there's nothing I can do. Wah. Uncle Pai paused for a moment before bursting into laughter. He slapped his chest. You hit me? All right, I'll let you. But if you can't kill me, then I'll kill you. Let's see what you can do. With that, Uncle Pai stood in front of Lin Yi with his chest puffed out. He was a mystic mid-phase peak physical practitioner. And even before Lin Yi lost his strength, Lin Yi was only a mystic early phase. They were 2 levels apart, and so Uncle Pai didn't put Lin Yi in his eyes at all. Wait. Xiaoben saw that Lin Yi seemed to be serious and suddenly hesitated. If he was just showing off, then why did he slap Uncle Pai in the first place? Therefore, Xiaoben wanted to ask again. What happened today was a bit too strange. However, Xiaoben was still a step too late. Lin Yi's palm smacked out. Uncle Pai was still laughing and patting his chest, looking at Lin Yi mockingly, but the next moment, he was like a kite with a broken string, flying out of the villa with a whoosh, landing on the road in front of the villa with a loud thud. Xiaoji was stunned, and so was Xiaoben. They all stared blankly at Lin Yi. As far as they knew, Lin Yi didn't have any strength left. How could he send Uncle Pai flying with a single palm strike? Could it be? Xiaoji and Xiaoben looked at each other and thought of a terrifying possibility. Lin Yi's strength didn't disappear. It was all an illusion. You. Xiaoji's eyes widened as he pointed at Lin Yi, saying you 3 times, but he couldn't say anything else. Don't you? I was afraid that I would kill him, so I only used 40% of my strength. He probably won't die, Lin Yi said calmly. Xiaoji and Xiaoben heard Lin Yi's words and didn't say anything else. They turned around and ran out of the mansion, wanting to check on Uncle Pai's injuries. After all, Uncle Pai was the Xiao family's only support. If anything happened to Uncle Pai, then the Xiao family's strength would plummet. Right now, the Xiao family's status as a noble family was in danger. Nothing could happen to Uncle Pai. The 2 of them quickly ran out of the courtyard, but just as they stepped out of the mansion, they heard a screech of brakes. The car screeched to a halt. Bang! Just as Peeble flew out of the mansion, he was hit by an oncoming red Ferrari and was sent flying. Uncle Pai screamed in pain as he fell to the ground, blood bubbling out of his mouth. He wasn't going to make it. Huh? Xiaoji and Xiaoben looked at each other with their eyes wide open. Wasn't this too much of a coincidence? How did Uncle Pai get hit by a car? Xiao Ji and Xiao Ben were dumbfounded. They didn't know what to do, and just as they were about to check on Uncle Pai, a woman jumped out of the red Ferrari and started yelling, "Which old fart is this? Don't you watch where you're going? You just came out like that. Are you trying to extort money from me? Let me tell you, don't even think about extorting money from me. Who do you think I am? I'm from the Xiao family from Yanjing. My Ferrari is worth a few million yuan, and it even damaged my car." It was Xiao Ji's second wife, Go Huli. Go Huli had received a call from Xiao Ji saying that she was going to humiliate Pengzhan's family today, and so she hurried back from the beauty salon. She wanted to see Pengzhan's family as soon as possible, so she drove a little faster. But just as she reached House Chu's mansion, a black shadow ran in front of her car, and Go Huli couldn't stop in time, sending the black shadow flying. When she got out of the car, she realized that it was an old man, his face covered in blood from being hit by her car. Go Huli was used to being arrogant, and she wasn't afraid of something like this. Wasn't it just a car accident? She didn't do it on purpose, and at most she'd just pay some money. While Go Huli was acting arrogantly, Xiao Ji and Xiao Ben were dumbfounded. They never would have thought that the person who hit Uncle Pai was Go Huli. Xiao Ji was infuriated, and rushed over, swinging his arm and giving Go Huli a big slap. "You useless bitch, are you blind?" Go Huli was stunned, and looked at Xiao Ji in disbelief. "Hubby, why did you hit me?" "Hit you? Are you fucking blind? Do you even know how to drive? Fuck your fourth uncle." Xiao Ji slapped again, and Go Huli's mouth started bleeding. "Look at who you hit. It's Uncle Pai. You bitch." "Ah." Go Huli was dumbfounded by Xiao Ji's words. What? The person she hit was Uncle Pai? "Bro, alright, don't hit sis-in-law. Let's check on Uncle Pai first." Xiao Ben was panicking as well, but he knew the severity of the situation. What could hitting solve at a time like this? "Let's check on Uncle Pai first." I'll deal with you when we get home." Xiao Ji quickly turned around and ran to Uncle Pai. Chapter 955. Roles reversed, it's over. Xiao Ben only took one look, and his heart immediately turned cold. His head is smashed, and his brain juice is flowing out. Can he still live? Hurry up and call the ambulance. Xiao Ji was panicking as well, glaring at Huli. What are you looking at? Hurry up and call the ambulance. Oh, yes. Go Huli nodded and took out her phone to call the emergency center. In the villa, Lin Yi's eyes were wide open as well. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. Wasn't this too much? How did this Uncle Pai die? Did he get hit by himself? Or did he get run over by a car? Yao Yao, that Huli's so pitiful. She killed a master from the Xiao family. Shield Bro's been merciful for nothing. Yushu said regretfully. She'll probably be hung up and beaten when we get home tonight. I really want to go see. The scene was a little bloody, but it was a dramatic ending. Mengyao couldn't help but smile. Yeah, their family sure is unlucky. Pengzhan didn't expect things to end up like this, too. The Xiao family's master got run over by the Xiao family's daughter-in-law. The Xiao family had fallen to a certain point, and Pengzhan didn't have the heart to bully them anymore. You guys go deal with the funerals first. When you're done, I'll get someone to talk to me about the 400 million and the 4 properties. Lin Yi looked at the Xiao family brothers and shook his head. You guys saw it yourself. Life is full of surprises, and the next one might be you. Xiao Ji and Xiao Ben shivered at Lin Yi's threat. At this moment, they truly felt fear. Lin Yi's strength hadn't disappeared at all. But that wasn't the problem. The problem was that Uncle Pai was dead. The Xiao family wouldn't have anything to rely on anymore, wouldn't they? Xiao Ji and Xiao Ben were both shocked and infuriated. They didn't think that Lin Yi wouldn't stop after Uncle Pai's death. He wanted to extort money and 4 properties from them. This was simply going too far. But they didn't realize that after they'd let Uncle Pai injure Wei Zhizuan, they'd pushed Pengzhan into a corner as well. But how could the Xiao family have any property rights? They wouldn't need to fight for Pengzhan's property if they had their own. As for the 400 million, the Xiao family could afford it, but that was after selling all their properties in Yanjing. They were preparing to expand their business in Songshan. How could they give it to Lin Yi? But the current situation was that the Xiao family didn't want to give it to him. Would Lin Yi let them go? Looking at Uncle Pai and the Xiao family being taken away by the ambulance, Linny didn't feel the slightest bit of sympathy. Perhaps this was what they meant by, the evils they brought upon themselves are the hardest to bear. It's time for the next house. Linny shrugged and turned to Pengzhan. Uncle Chu, I'm going to the floating cloud bar. Oh, you're still planning to cause trouble for Zhao Qibing? Pengzhan paused. Since they came to our doorstep, how can they learn their lesson if I don't teach them a lesson? Linny shook his head. But this Zhao Qibing doesn't seem to have a good memory. All right, be careful. Pengzhan saw that Linny was so insistent, so he didn't say anything else. He knew that the strong preyed on the weak. If you didn't teach them a lesson after being bullied, they'd think that you were afraid of them. They'd come back to bully you again. Only when someone bullies you and you step on them back fiercely, to the point where the other party is afraid of you, can you make them fear you. But you better come back early, Pengzhan said hesitantly. After all, it's a critical period right now. I'm worried that House Yu and Xiao family will retaliate and come back to take revenge on Yao Yao and Shu. Don't worry, Linny smiled. General Weiwu isn't someone to be trifled with. Besides, would they dare to come back? But Uncle Chu, you'll have to spend your own money to fix the door. We don't know when we'll get House Yu's property back. As long as House Yu and Xiao family had enough power, they'd definitely come back for revenge. But now wasn't the time. Of course. Pengzhan smiled bitterly. Only Lin Yi dared to say something like that. He killed Yu Bide and still dared to ask for benefits from House Yu. But his father was right. Lin Yi was Lin Yi after all. Songshan's passive situation still depended on him to solve it. It was as if all the troubles had disappeared in an instant. The weak side had become the strong side. Pengzhan couldn't even get used to the sudden change of roles. Just this morning he was still worried about House Chu's future and his daughter's future. But now he was worried about House Yu, Xiao family and Zhao Qibing. Lin Yi, be careful. Meng Yao waited for Lin Yi to walk to the door before speaking. Her tone was flat, but Lin Yi could see the deep concern in her eyes the moment he turned back to look at the Mississippi. Okay. Lin Yi nodded. The Miss had always been like this, cold on the outside but warm on the inside. Lin Yi was used to it. Good luck, shield bro. Yushu waved her fist. I've always had high hopes for you. Lin Yi nodded to them and left the villa. He got on Yushu's beetle and drove to the floating cloud bar. Zhang Wen had encouraged House Yu and Xiao family to go after Pengzhan. And Zhang Wen was waiting for Pengzhan to call him for help. From his perspective, Pengzhan would definitely agree to his suggestion under the pressure of House Yu and Xiao family. There was no other reason. Although Meng Yao might not like him, marrying him was the best option for Meng Yao compared to marrying a stranger like House Yu. He believed that Pengzhan wasn't an idiot. He should be able to understand this. If Meng Yao married him, Pengzhan would not only protect Pengzhan Industries, but also his daughter's happiness. Zhang Wen truly liked Meng Yao, so even if he married Meng Yao, he would love her dearly and wouldn't do anything to her. Zhang Wen looked at the time on his watch. Didn't House Yu say they were going early in the morning? It was already 8, and he didn't know if there were any results yet. There was no news from Xiao family either. Were they going or not? Chapter 956. Chapter 954, Zhang Wen's hint. With that in mind, Zhang Wen dialed Zhao Qibing's number without hesitation. Zhao Qibing was in the floating cloud bar, doing some recovery exercises. His legs were finally able to stand up and walk under Yao Wang's meticulous treatment. Yao Wang's medical skills weren't as good as Lin Yi's, but it was still much better than recovering in the hospital. Tang Jiuqing had been able to stand up and walk a long time ago, but he could only stand up now. But Zhao Qibing felt that this was a happy event. That's why his legs were recovering so fast. His biggest enemy in Songshan, Lin Yi, was finally done for. Zhao Qibing had already considered Lin Yi as an obstacle to his development in Songshan. He believed that as long as Lin Yi was gone, he'd be able to do whatever he wanted. It wasn't his fault for thinking like that. Before, no matter what he did, he'd always get in the way of Lin Yi. He'd even demolished Lin Yi's girlfriend's house. How unlucky. Lin Yi, that's what you get for showing off in front of me. After I'm done with House Chu, I'll go play with your wife. Tang Yin? Haha, I've had my eyes on her since a long time ago. I'll make you cry then. With that thought, Zhao Qibing couldn't help but chuckle happily. Master Bing, what's the matter? Why are you so happy? Sihua walked in after hearing Master Bing's laughter. My legs are healed, and Linny is done for. Zhao Qibing said excitedly. Right, did House Chu contact us? What's the deadline they gave them? Congratulations, Master Bing. Congratulations to you. From now on, Songshan belongs to you, Master Bing. You'll be able to do whatever you want. Sihua congratulated. The deadline they gave Pingzhan is today. Oh, then why didn't they contact us? Zhao Qibing was getting impatient. A while ago, he'd almost died of depression from being stepped on. Now that he finally had the chance to step on someone else, he was naturally impatient. Then I'll go find Pingzhan with Yao Wang later and threaten him? Sihua asked after some hesitation. Sure, I'll go with you later. Qibing wanted to enjoy the fun of stepping on people. Master Bing, how's your leg? Sihua asked hesitantly. I'm fine. Look, I'm all right now. Qibing walked 2 rounds on the ground. He hadn't been in the wheelchair for long, so he got back to normal after a bit of recovery training. Look at how smooth I'm walking. I can trot. I can jump. Look. Master Bing, you're amazing. I bet Lin Yi's going to be pissed to see how fast your legs healed. Sihua congratulated. Yeah, I'm going to piss Lin Yi off, and this time, I'm going to break his legs. None of you help me, I'll do it myself. Qibing said. Zhao Qibing was feeling proud of himself when his phone rang. He picked it up and saw that it was Jiang Wen calling. Was this guy giving him money again? Hello? Master Wen, why are you calling me at this hour? Qibing picked up. Master Bing? I have some news to tell you. Jiang Wen purposely lowered his voice. I heard that Pingzhan wants to escape. He ran to Mengyao's villa early in the morning, planning to escape with Mengyao. I heard that House Yu and Xiao family are looking for him now. Master Bing, you have to hurry. Don't let them escape. Oh, really? Qibing paused. He wasn't worried that Pingzhan would run away, but he couldn't run away with his temple. He wanted a real estate company, different from Xiao family and House Yu. Xiao family wanted money and property, while House Yu wanted people and shares. They were afraid that Pingzhan would run away with the money and Mengyao, but Qibing wasn't afraid of this. But Qibing was afraid that Pingzhan didn't have that much money. Xiao family wanted 200 million, and if Pingzhan didn't have it, he would have to use something else to replace it. House Yu wouldn't agree to that. After all, they wanted the shares of Pingzhan Industries, and they might even use his real estate company's assets to make up the difference. Wouldn't that be a huge loss for him? Although Xiao family and House Yu wouldn't take away the real estate company directly, they still had to give him face. But Qibing was afraid that they would take away the land and properties under the real estate company, leaving behind an empty shell. What use would he have then? Besides, if those things fell into House Yu and Xiao family's pockets, he wouldn't be able to ask for them anymore. He could only blame it on his bad luck. After all, he was robbing someone else's stuff. First come, first serve. Yeah, I'm afraid that if you're late, it'll be too late, Jiang Wen said. But don't you like Mengyao? How are you going to tip me off? Qibing wasn't an idiot. He knew that Jiang Wen was Mengyao's pursuer, and he didn't care about what he did to House Chu, but he didn't understand why Jiang Wen wanted him to be more ruthless towards House Chu. I like her, but she doesn't like me. She's going to marry into House Yu soon. What's the use of liking her? If she came to me earlier, she wouldn't be in this situation now. Jiang Wen said this on purpose to give Qibing a heads up. She'll be the wife of the Firewolf gang, and even House Yu will have to give them face. Yeah, but that girl asked for it herself. Who can she blame? Qibing agreed. It was indeed the case, so he went along with it. Man, I really can't bear to part with her. But you're right. Mengyao is looking for trouble herself, and she doesn't even come to me when she's in trouble. What else can I do? Jiang Wen sighed. All right, Master One, my condolences. You're a healthy man with 2 kidneys now. You have to look forward. There's no impermanence grass in the world. There's no need to look for Mengyao. Qibing consoled. Yeah, then I won't disturb you anymore, Master Bing. I'm calling you because of Master Bing's help. I became a normal person and regained my manhood. Jiang Wen said. Why else would I stick my nose into other people's business? I know. Thank you, Master One. Qibing didn't doubt Jiang Wen's words this time and believed him. After hanging up, Qibing called Sihua over. Sihua, I just received news that Pengzhan is trying to escape, and now House Yu and Xiao family are looking for him. If we're late, all the benefits will be taken by others, and we won't get anything at all. Chapter 957. He can do it first. Yes, we'll go now. Go get Yao, we'll go now, Qibing said. Alright, I'll go now. Sihua nodded. Where are you guys going? A voice rang out, scaring Qibing and Sihua. Linny? Qibing froze as he looked at the newcomer in disbelief. Who else could it be if not Linny? Are you guys looking for me? If so, there's no need to go. I'm here. Linny looked at Qibing with a mocking look. Your legs healed? No wonder you're jumping around so happily. Looks like you're better off sitting in a wheelchair. What do you mean? Linny, you're crippled. How dare you come here? Are you tired of living? Qibing couldn't help but feel troubled after hearing Lin Yi's words. Was Lin Yi out of his mind? He could tolerate his arrogance when he was strong. But now that he didn't have the strength, how could he be so arrogant? Who told you I'm crippled? Lin Yi looked at Qibing a little surprised. Are you dreaming? Can't you tell reality from a dream? Are you hallucinating? Qibing was stunned by Lin Yi's words, but he remembered that Lin Yi was crippled, and he was the one who sent people to test him, so it shouldn't be a lie. With that thought, he forced himself to calm down. Lin Yi, stop pretending. I'm the one who found the baldy in the parking lot of Starlight Hotel. I know your background like the back of my hand. You're trying to scare me? Is it because Pengzhan has no other choice but to send you to stop me? Oh. Lin Yi frowned. So it was Qibing who sent the baldy. If I'm not wrong, Pengzhan is probably packing his things and planning to run away, right? Did they send you here to buy time? Qibing saw the frown on Lin Yi's face and thought that he'd hit the nail on the head. He continued to use his reasoning skills. But Lin Yi, aren't you an idiot? Why are you so stupid? You're still working for Chu Pengzhan in this kind of situation. How much does he pay you? I asked you to scare me because I wanted you to be my cannon fodder. Do you think that you can leave now that you've come? Don't you know that I've wanted you dead for a long time? Oh, Uncle Chu didn't ask me to come. I came on my own. Lin Yi mercilessly denied Qibing's reasoning. Quack. Qibing paused. I know you've always liked that girl Mingyao, right? You sacrificed yourself for her. Am I right? Sigh, since ancient times, servants have been affectionate. They were willing to die for the young miss. I didn't expect to see the modern version. Wow, this is so touching. Your legs are healed. What's wrong with your head? Lin Yi looked at the arrogant Qibing and shook his head regretfully. Looks like you'll still have to sit in a wheelchair. If your IQ continues to develop like this, you'll end up in a vegetative state. Fuck, what did you say? Qibing slammed the table and pointed at the wheelchair behind him. Lin Yi, how dare you say something like that when you're here? Do you really want to die? You want me to sit in a wheelchair? Do you know why I didn't throw it away after using it? Because you already knew that it would be useful. Lin Yi looked at Qibing surprised. Huh? You're not stupid. You knew that I prepared this wheelchair for you? Qibing laughed. That's right, I'll let you come in standing and leave in a wheelchair. Oh, it's not me who's stupid, it's you. Lin Yi shook his head regretfully. You're wrong. I thought you were like Prophet Shu, a prophet soldier. I knew you'd have to sit in a wheelchair. Yao, take control of this kid. I'll break his legs myself. Qibing was furious. In his imagination, when he saw Lin Yi again, Lin Yi would kneel down and beg him with tears and snot. But Lin Yi was still so arrogant even though he had lost his strength. This created a huge gap between Qibing's dream and reality, and he was extremely pissed off. Although he could take revenge on Lin Yi now, it wasn't as satisfying as that. Yes. The king pharmacist replied. He had already heard the commotion and was waiting by the side. Although Yao wasn't good at fighting, taking down Lin Yi who had lost all his strength was a piece of cake for him. Yao was the one who was most confident that Lin Yi had lost all his strength. He was the one who analyzed and deduced that Lin Yi had lost all his strength. So Yao grabbed at Lin Yi without any hesitation. But in the next moment he realized that he couldn't grab Lin Yi. Huh? You're still running so fast when you've lost your strength? Yao Wang looked at Lin Yi, who was dodging to the side, and said in disbelief, "You're quite good at escaping, aren't you? You can run if you can't win, but it's a pity that your legs will be crippled by Master Bing in a few days. No matter how good your Qinggong is, it's useless. Right, Master Bing? Haha." He had been with Master Bing for a long time and learned his laughter. He was able to imitate it perfectly. However, after Yao Wang finished speaking, he looked at Master Bing, but he didn't see Master Bing laughing out loud as he expected. At this moment, Master Bing's eyes were wide open as he looked at him in shock. This made Yao Wang confused. "Master Bing, what's wrong?" "Your body." Master Bing's eyes were wide open as if he had seen a ghost. He pointed at Yao Wang and said in disbelief, "What's wrong with my body?" Yao Wang lowered his head in confusion and looked at his body. But when he looked, he was shocked. Haha. The king of medicine was shocked to discover that his entire body had been pierced with numerous silver needles. He suddenly remembered that when he tried to catch Lin Yi, he felt a faint prickling pain all over his body, but he didn't care at that time. Because he was a medical student, he knew that the human body would sometimes have nervous itching and prickling pain. This was not a rare thing, so he didn't care. But now he realized that it was not the case at all. What did you do to my body?" Yao Wang looked at Lin Yi in shock, his face full of horror. "Nothing. Aren't you good at harming people? I heard that you wanted to poison my house." Lin Yi shrugged and said innocently, "So I had to make the first move. But I heard that you're very powerful, so you should be able to deal with it yourself, right?" Chapter 958. Who told you that? Yao Wang subconsciously circulated his pure energy to check. However, he didn't notice anything strange after circulating his pure energy. However, the more he felt, the more worried Yao Wang became. Because Li Dilei's energy was suppressed by Lin Yi's silver needles. He couldn't feel anything if he didn't remove the needles. "It's nothing. Aren't you the miracle doctor, Zhao Yao Wang?" A mocking smile appeared on Lin Yi's lips. "It's spreading like wildfire on the internet right now, so I believe that you'll be able to deal with it." Is it the same as Li Dilei's pure energy needles?" Yao Wang asked in shock. "Oh, more or less, but I modified it a little. It's not the same as last time," Lin Yi said. "Didn't you notice that the needles were inserted into your meridians?" Yao Wang's expression became even more shocked. "What will happen?" "It's nothing. I've compressed my pure energy and sealed it in your meridians. You'll be fine as long as you don't pull it out." Lin Yi smiled. "Of course you can pull it out too. So what?" Yao Wang's face darkened. "Isn't your strength gone? How can you still have pure energy? Why are you as dumb as that idiot Zhao Qibing? You're on his side after all, taking things for granted." Lin Yi curled his lips. "May I ask who told you that my strength is gone?" Yao Wang thought. "Who told me? Didn't I guess it myself? If you pull out the silver needles, then my true qi will explode in your body with a bang," Lin Yi said exaggeratedly. "After that, your meridians will be destroyed, and your strength will be greatly reduced. After you pull out all the needles, your meridians will be destroyed, and congratulations, you can practice physical arts from now on," Lin Yi said exaggeratedly. "After that, your meridians will be destroyed." This was a bad idea that Lin Yi came up with after his meridians were damaged. He used it on Yao Wang. However, to deal with a person like the Medicine King, it was impossible not to hurt him a little. Impossible. The Medicine King's face suddenly became sinister. "You're lying, you don't even have your strength, you're just using a few silver needles to pretend. You don't have any innate qi. I can't feel any innate qi fluctuations in your body." My strength is higher than yours, of course you can't feel it." Lin Yi thought to himself. "You're not me. A normal inner force expert can only see the opponent's strength when they circulate their true qi. Even if the opponent's strength is much higher than the opponent's, they can still see the opponent's strength at a glance. Otherwise, unless you have a golden finger like Lin Yi, you can see the opponent's strength." "Bullshit. You don't have any strength left." The Medicine King was the one who was most certain that Lin Yi had lost his strength, so he did not believe that Lin Yi still had any strength left. "If you don't believe me, then forget it. You can pull out a silver needle and try," Lin Yi said indifferently. "So be it. You think I don't dare?" the Medicine King said as he stretched out his hand to pull out the silver needle in his chest, but when his hand touched the needle, he paused for a moment and moved his hand to his left leg to pull out the needle. Lin Yi secretly laughed, but did not say anything. Even though the Medicine King shouted that he was not afraid, he still did not dare to pull out the silver needle in his chest. One must know that near the chest was the main meridian. If it was destroyed, then his strength would directly drop from Mystic class to Golden class. The left leg was not important. The innate chi stored there was very little. After the meridian was destroyed, at most the left leg would not be able to use innate chi, but for an expert like the Medicine King who was not good at fighting, it was not important. The Medicine King directly pulled out the silver needle in his leg, and the result was immediately dumbfounded. With a loud sound, he felt as if his left leg was about to explode. The meridian in it was instantly destroyed by Lin Yi's huge innate chi. The Medicine King screamed and staggered, almost falling to the ground. The Medicine King's face changed from pain to fear. He looked at Lin Yi, beads of sweat dripping down his face. Impossible. This is impossible. Why didn't you lose your strength? Medicine King cried in his heart. What was wrong with Lin Yi? Was he pretending to be weak? He didn't lose his strength. Why didn't he show it in the parking lot? He made him think that Lin Yi had lost his strength. At this moment, Qibing and Sihua were dumbfounded as well. What? Lin Yi didn't lose his strength? In other words, Lin Yi was still as strong as before? Fuck. Zhao Qibing remembered the words he said to Lin Yi before, and he wanted to slap himself a few times. His mouth was too dirty. His mouth was too dirty. With Lin Yi's temper, he was done for. I'm still confused. Who told you that I don't have any strength? Who told you that? Or are you imagining it? Lin Yi looked at Medicine King mockingly. Medicine King's face darkened. I'm not imagining it, am I? He couldn't help but ask bitterly. You have the strength. Why didn't you use your chi in the parking lot? Why would I use my chi against a few thieves? Lin Yi shook his head. Plus it's mine. I can use it if I want. I can't use it if I don't want to. Why do you care so much? Medicine King was speechless. Lin Yi was right. The chi was his. He didn't care if he wanted to use it or not. But he still asked. Before that, I went to Pengzhan Industries to find trouble with Pengzhan. Chairman Chu, why didn't you stop me? Oh, fine, I just pretended that I didn't have any strength. I wanted to see who was trying to harm me, and then I'll step on them. Lin Yi shrugged, admitting it. Fuck. Medicine King couldn't help but curse. Had he been played? Had he become someone who was trying to harm him? And so Lin Yi stepped on him? He only had himself to blame. Who else could he blame? Medicine King felt a wave of sadness in his heart. Then my needles. What should I do? Medicine King smiled bitterly. Aren't you very strong yourself? You can try refining my chi, or wait for my meridians to break, then you can repair them. Lin Yi said. Right, I forgot to tell you. I can repair meridians. If your meridians are broken, you can ask me to repair them. You can repair meridians? Medicine King looked at Lin Yi in shock. Chapter 959. You got lucky. No wonder, no wonder. The Medicine King looked up to the sky and let out a long sigh. If not for the silver needles on his chest and body, he would have pounded his chest and stamped his feet. But he still said sadly, no wonder my prediction failed. Maju was in such a miserable state. How could you be fine? So you can heal yourself. It's not too late to understand now, Lin Yi said. But, can you help me repair my meridians? Medicine King looked at Lin Yi with a face full of hope. Sure. Lin Yi nodded. Ah. The Medicine King stared blankly for a moment, and almost cried out in front of Lin Yi. Could Lin Yi really help him repair his meridians? But my fees are definitely more expensive than a quack like you. Lin Yi said, 1 billion for one meridian. There are 7 meridians and 8 meridians in a martial artist's body. There are a total of 15 main meridians. You can give me 15 billion. I'll give you the other auxiliary meridians. The Medicine King rolled his eyes and almost fainted from anger. 1 billion meridians? Why didn't he just rob someone? Don't think it's expensive. Do you know how many heavenly materials and earthly treasures I have to spend to repair one of your meridians? Maybe my master will have to come personally. My master will have to pay for the journey, right? Lin Yi started to spout nonsense. The Medicine King remained silent, despair written all over his face. Lin Yi shrugged and ignored Yao Wang. He turned to Zhao Qibing. Zhao Qibing, it seems like you haven't given up yet? The building has collapsed twice. Don't you know that there are some people you can't afford to offend? It'll be troublesome if you do. Lin Yi boss. Hi. I was tricked by House Yu and Xiao family. That's why I did something like this. In fact, I'm scared of you. The expression on Qibing's face was very interesting. In order to save his life, he had no choice but to endure the humiliation. Zhao Qibing knew very well that Lin Yi could do anything. So he pushed all the blame onto House Yu and Xiao family. He didn't believe that Lin Yi would dare to do anything to House Yu and Xiao family. After all, Lin Yi might not know the power of the hidden aristocratic families, but he definitely knew that the aristocratic families of the common world were not to be trifled with. Besides, House Yu had the support of a hidden house, and although the Xiao family was down and out, Zhao Qibing didn't believe that Lin Yi would dare to touch them. After all, if Lin Yi were to touch the Xiao family, the other aristocratic families would definitely sympathize with him. Perhaps they would be the next ones to be affected, and they wouldn't sit idly by. Yu Bide is dead, and so is Uncle Pai, Lin Yi said faintly. Huh. Zhao Qibing heard Lin Yi's words and almost fell on his butt. What's going on? Lin Yi even dared to kill someone from House Yu? From Zhao Qibing's perspective, no matter how arrogant Lin Yi was, he would only touch the Xiao family, not House Yu. He didn't think that Lin Yi would even dare to kill someone from House Yu. Wasn't he being too ruthless? This guy didn't play his cards according to common sense at all. Moreover, he was completely unscrupulous in his actions. Wasn't he afraid that others would take revenge on him? That's right, this time, he pretended that he had lost a lot of his strength and attracted some people to take revenge on him. In the end, the people who took revenge were taken revenge on him. No one from your family has died yet, so I'm here. Lin Yi looked at Zhao Qibing and said with a smile that wasn't a smile. Boss Lin Yi, there must be some misunderstanding between us. Zhao Qibing was so scared that his legs couldn't move, and his whole body was trembling. The smile on his face was ugly. Look, if I wasn't bewitched, I wouldn't dare to cause trouble for you. Please don't be impulsive. Don't be afraid. Before I kill someone, I usually give them a chance to choose. Lin Yi waved his hand and interrupted Zhao Qibing. I gave House Yu and Xiao family 2 conditions, but they didn't agree, so there's nothing I can do. I agree. Zhao Qibing nodded. Your condition, I want double, Lin Yi said faintly. My condition. Zhao Qibing's face changed and he smiled bitterly. I want Pengzhan Industries real estate company, but I don't have 2 real estate companies. If I did, I wouldn't need to ask for someone else's. Then you can only die. Lin Yi said, but you're different from House Yu and Xiao family. You're saying that you want Yao Wang to poison us? No, why would I dare to poison you? Zhao Qibing quickly denied. Lin Yi, I was the one who gave the order. Master Bing didn't mean to poison you. I was just afraid that Pengzhan wouldn't listen to me. That's why I said that. Sihua gritted his teeth and stepped forward, deciding to take the blame for Zhao Qibing. Zhao Qibing didn't show up at the time. He just needed to take all the responsibility, and perhaps he would be able to shift Lin Yi's anger onto himself. Oh, it's you? You're the one who wanted to poison Uncle Chu's family? Lin Yi looked at Sihua and asked. That's me. Sihua nodded. Oh, then I'll kill your family too, of course, that includes Zhao Qibing. Lin Yi said nonchalantly. Wah. Sihua paused. But this has nothing to do with Master Bing. Oh, when you wanted to kill Uncle Chu's family, you didn't think it had anything to do with Yao Yao, so I don't think it has anything to do with Zhao Qibing either, Lin Yi said. Sihua was speechless. Did he stand up and take the blame for nothing? Boss Lin Yi, I don't have a real estate company, but can I use my money to pay off my debt? Zhao Qibing was scared when he heard that Lin Yi had killed Yu Bide and Uncle Pai. He believed that Lin Yi would kill him for sure. Oh, that's fine, Lin Yi smiled. Forget it, I'll give you a discount. 200 million is fine. 200 million. Zhao Qibing's face turned bitter again. I only have 150 million. This 150 million was taken from Zhen Yingjun and Zhang Wen. It had only been a few days, and now it was going to be gone. 50 million, huh? That's fine. You break your own leg and I'll give you 50 million, Linny said. That. Qibing hesitated. Although his leg was just healed, it would be too painful to break it again. But when he thought about it, he would be able to save 50 million and keep his life. It was a good deal. He was just sitting in a wheelchair for a while. It didn't matter. He gritted his teeth. Fine. Sure. Sihua, get a metal rod for Boss Lin Yi and break my leg. That. Okay. Sihua wanted to say something, but thinking about Lin Yi's personality, he shook his head and went out to get the metal rod. Chapter 960. Chapter 958. Swearing to the wheelchair. A trace of humiliation flashed across Qibing's eyes as he gritted his teeth. Sihua, do it. With that, he pulled up his shirt and bit it into his mouth before sitting on the wheelchair behind him. But Sihua didn't dare to do it. Hurry up, my time is limited. If you don't do it now, I'll get a comminuted fracture, Lin Yi said impatiently. Sihua, do it, this is an order. Qibing shuddered as he gave the order. Sihua had no choice but to grit his teeth and smash the metal rod down on Qibing's left leg. With a crack, Qibing screamed in pain. His left leg was broken. Sihua raised the metal rod again and smashed it down on Qibing's right leg. With another crack, Qibing's right leg was broken as well. Qibing was in so much pain that he wanted to roll on the floor. Remember to transfer the money. Right, breaking one leg is enough. Why did you break two? Lin Yi shrugged and left the floating cloud bar. That. Sihua froze. He hated Lin Yi to the core. Why didn't he say so earlier? He didn't break both of Qibing's legs at the same time, but he did it separately. Why did he have to wait until after he was done? Wasn't he doing it on purpose? If Master Bing were to blame him. Lin Yi, I Zhao Qibing, swear to the wheelchair that if I don't kill you, my surname isn't Zhao. Qibing endured the pain and waited for Lin Yi to leave before saying viciously, remember this, I Zhao Qibing am a man of my words. Master Bing, I'm sorry. Sihua quickly apologized for breaking both of Qibing's legs. It's none of your business. Qibing waved his hand and rolled his eyes before fainting. Lin Yi didn't return to Mingyao's villa after leaving the floating cloud bar. Instead, he called Tang Yin. He had to explain to Tang Yin. Perhaps today's result would disappoint her, but Lin Yi had no other choice. At the same time, he didn't want Miss and Shu to leave. Although he didn't spend a lot of time with them, after spending every day with them, Lin Yi had really fallen in love with them. Hello. Lin Yi, are you on the train? Tang Yin knew that Lin Yi probably left last night, but she was afraid that if she went to send him off, someone would see her. It was better to let Lin Yi leave secretly and not be seen by his enemies. No, I'm in Songshan, Lin Yi said. You didn't leave? Tang Yin paused. What's wrong? What happened? Where are you? Let's talk when we meet. Lin Yi sighed slightly and said, I'm at school. It's lunch break right now, Tang Yin said. Then I'll go to school now. Lin Yi turned the car around and drove towards the school. Pin Liang and Xiaofu just came out of a restaurant in front of the school. The school had covered up Pin Liang's crimes, but even so, Pin Liang and Xiaofu didn't dare go to the cafeteria. The cafeteria's chef knew the inside story, and it'd be bad if they said something wrong. So they went to a nearby restaurant for lunch every day. With Pin Liang's family background, they could afford it. Liang bro, isn't that Lin Yi? Xiaofu suddenly pointed not far away. Lin Yi. Pin Liang paused and looked in the direction Xiaofu was pointing at. Lin Yi was getting out of a yellow beetle, as expected. Why is he still here? House Yu, Xiao family and Zhao Qibing's people still haven't killed him? Xiaofu asked curiously. Yeah, why is he here at this time? He's not hiding. Why is he here in public? Pin Liang frowned. Liang bro, let's go look for trouble with him? Xiaofu suggested excitedly. Look for what? Are you stupid? Lin Yi still dares to come to school at this time? There must be something wrong. Pin Liang was no longer the reckless and brainless Pin Liang he used to be. He had experienced great joy and sorrow and had evolved into a highly intelligent Pin Liang. Wait, I'll ask my dad. Okay. Xiaofu nodded and shrunk his head. Pin Liang called Fabai, and Fabai picked up the phone. Hello? Pin Liang, what's up? Dad, I want to ask you something. Did Xiao family, House Yu, and Master Bing go looking for trouble with Chu Pingzhan? Pin Liang asked. I saw Lin Yi at school. Pinliang, don't mess with Lin Yi, do you hear me? You can't. Fabai was shocked by his son's words and hurriedly said to his son. What's wrong? Pinliang paused. You don't know? House Yu and Xiao family were all killed by Lin Yi. And just now, Lin Yi came back from Master Bing's place. Not only did he injure Yao Wang, but he also broke Master Bing's legs. He even asked Master Bing for 150 million. Fabai said quickly. Oh my god, really? Pinliang was shocked. Lin Yi even dared to kill Xiao family and House Yu? Don't talk about Xiao family and House Yu. Even Master Bing didn't do anything. He still has to compensate Lin Yi? Fabai smiled bitterly. This Lin Yi pretended to be a pig to eat a tiger. His strength hasn't disappeared at all, but today he showed his power. This Lin Yi is so evil? Pinliang couldn't help but sigh. It seemed like he was really smart to not mess with Lin Yi. Otherwise, he wouldn't even know how he died. Yeah, let's talk later. I'm busy, Fabai said. Just remember not to mess with Lin Yi. Got it. Pinliang nodded and hung up. He told his father's words to Xiaofu. See? I told you not to mess with Lin Yi. Now you know how smart I am? Yeah, Liang bro, you're really smart. Xiaofu heard Pinliang's words and couldn't help but feel scared. He wanted to mess with Lin Yi before, but now it seemed like it was the right decision. Liang bro, your IQ is really skyrocketing. You're no longer the Zhong Pinliang from before. That's right. Let me tell you, you need to have IQ to be a bad guy. Pinliang nodded proudly. Lin Yi has IQ, but his IQ can only fool Xiao family, House Yu, and Master Bing. Compared to me, he's still a level lower. Chapter 961. Not really. That's right. We'll go visit Naipeo this weekend. Pinliang nodded. Yeah. I miss Naipeo too. It's been so long. I miss the days when the three of us were together. Xiaofu sighed. Lin Yi wasn't here back then, and we were still doing whatever we wanted in school. It was such a good time. If Lin Yi hadn't come, we'd still be a bunch of rich kids who didn't know anything. What future would we have then? Pinliang said disdainfully. It was Lin Yi who changed me. It was through constant battles with Lin Yi that I was able to strengthen myself and defeat Lin Yi. That's the only way we can achieve greatness and stand at the top of the world. Liang bro, you're so thoughtful. You'll definitely become a famous person in the future. Xiaofu said. It's too early to talk about that. Let's go back to the classroom and pretend we didn't see Lin Yi. Pinliang waved his hand humbly. Lin Yi parked the car at the food street behind the school and quickly walked into the school, dialing Tang Yun's number as he walked. Yin Yin, where are you? Lin Yi asked after the call connected. I'm reading in the classroom. I don't have much time left in school. I'll miss it. Tang Yin smiled. Are you at school? I'll go look for you. Yeah, I'll wait for you at the building. Lin Yi sighed inwardly. Would Tang Yin be unhappy when she found out the truth? It was the first time Lin Yi cared about a girl's thought. It made the usually calm Lin Yi a little depressed. The school was the same as usual. It was lunch break, and many students were playing around in the field. Zhou Ruoming was still playing basketball with his lackeys not far away, and Pinliang was still hanging out with Xiaofu. It was a group of familiar faces, and some unfamiliar faces. Lin Yi leaned against the flower bed in front of the school building, waiting for Tang Yun. Not long after, Tang Yun's silhouette appeared in front of the school building. As usual, Tang Yun was still wearing her school uniform. Although it wasn't that Tang Yun couldn't afford clothes, she was always like this. Lin Yi liked this Tang Yun. She didn't change even though he gave her family a lot of money. When Tang Yun saw Lin Yi, the corner of her mouth turned into a beautiful smile. She quickly ran over, her chest slightly trembling, which surprised Lin Yi. He hadn't seen Tang Yun for a while, but her chest seemed to have grown bigger. Did she go through puberty again? Lin Yi wanted to ask, but he was too embarrassed to do so. In fact, Lin Yi was right. Tang Yun's breasts had started to grow. Tang Yun didn't say anything when Meng Yao used Yushu as a joke, but she was cheering in her heart. She added papaya milk to every meal, and she didn't think that it would have some effect unknowingly. This made Tang Yun very happy. Although she was going back to his hometown with Lin Yi soon, and she didn't know if she could see Meng Yao and Yushu again in this life, Tang Yun still wanted to perfect herself. You really haven't left yet? Tang Yun saw Lin Yi. Although she was surprised, her eyes were still filled with worry. Yeah, I haven't left yet. Lin Yi held Tang Yun's hand out of habit. Let's walk and talk. Okay. Tang Yun blushed, but she didn't reject. She had already decided to be with Lin Yi. She was also used to being intimate with Lin Yi occasionally, even in public. Tang Yun was a person who cared about her reputation. She didn't have any scandals before, but now that the whole school knew that she was Lin Yi's woman, Tang Yun was very calm. She had accepted everything in her heart. Lin Yi held Tang Yun's hand as they walked slowly under the shade of a tree. However, Lin Yi didn't say anything. It wasn't that he didn't want to say it, but he was thinking about how to start. Lin Yi understood Tang Yun's personality very well. Although she was strong sometimes, she was actually very fragile when it came to relationships. Especially with Xiaofan's example, Tang Yun protected herself like a hedgehog. She would turn into a monster at the slightest sign of trouble. This was also why Tang Yun was so guarded against Lin Yi before. But when she truly opened her heart and accepted Lin Yi, she became very careful, as if she was walking on thin ice, afraid that she would lose this relationship. Tang Yun. Lin Yi finally spoke. Tang Yun turned to look at Lin Yi. I won't go back to my hometown. I will stay in Songshan. Lin Yi clearly felt Tang Yun's grip on his hand tighten. Lin Yi sighed. Because my strength has recovered, and it has improved. Tang Yun pursed her lips as a trace of disappointment flashed through her eyes. But she smiled. That's a good thing. Congratulations. How could Lin Yi not feel the slight change in Tang Yun's emotions? He smiled bitterly. Are you a little disappointed? Why would I be? Tang Yun shook her head. I'm really happy that your strength has recovered. Tang Yun was speaking the truth. Although her dream of living a happy and secluded life with Lin Yi was shattered, Tang Yun was really happy for Lin Yi's recovery, because she knew that Lin Yi cared a lot about these things. If he couldn't recover, he would definitely be unhappy. So Tang Yun would rather be disappointed than let Lin Yi be unhappy. Thank you. Lin Yi squeezed Tang Yun's hand. Then, will you still stay at Chu Mingyao's place? Tang Yun hesitated and couldn't help but ask. Yes, I promised them that if I recover my strength, I will continue to stay at the villa. Lin Yi didn't hide it from Tang Yun. Ah, that's not bad. Tang Yun said insincerely. Anyone could see that she was disappointed. Tang Yun? Are you unhappy? Lin Yi also saw that Tang Yun didn't mean what she said. No. Tang Yun shook her head and took out a small box from her pocket and gave it to Lin Yi. Haha, I don't need this anymore. I'll give it back to you. Tang Yun took out the ring that Lin Yi gave her. Lin Yi was stunned. Why are you giving it back to me? I bought it for you in the first place. Maybe. This ring won't be mine in the end? Tang Yun wasn't confident. Chu Mingyao and Yushu's thoughts were clear to everyone. They still left Lin Yi in the villa. Did they want Lin Yi to be their bodyguard for the rest of his life? Chapter 962. Everyone's worries. Don't think too much. Lin Yi took the box and took out the ring, putting it on Tang Yun's finger. What's yours will always be yours. Tang Yun was pleasantly surprised. At this moment, she forgot all her worries and happiness. Tang Yun would remember this moment for the rest of her life. Under the shade of the tree, he put the ring on her finger again, expressing his love for her. House Chu's problem seems to have been solved, but nothing has been solved yet. I'd be worried if you leave now. Yao Yao and Shu aren't hostile towards you. That's just how they are, just like how they treated me in the beginning. They'll get along well with you once you get to know them more. Lin Yi comforted. You'll get along well with them. Lin Yi comforted. Oh. Tang Yun paused. She didn't understand what Lin Yi was hinting at. Was he implying that he wouldn't give up on her even if he chose Miss? That he wanted her to get along well with them? Would she? She didn't know. If Lin Yi really chose Miss, perhaps she would. Perhaps not. But what if she didn't? Would she give Lin Yi to Miss? No. Wouldn't that be what Miss wanted? Lin Yi didn't mean it, but it made Tang Yun's thoughts drift far, far away. Lin Yi was actually saying that the Miss would treat a person with kindness and care once she accepted him. Haha, I'll bring you back to see my old man during the summer after the college entrance exams. Lin Yi smiled. And Tang Yun was happy again, no matter what, as long as she was in Lin Yi's heart. Why should she care about Miss? If Lenny didn't like her, what was the point of keeping Lenny around? Tang Yun asked shyly. Then, what should I call him? Grandpa then. That should be how old he is, but I always call him old man. Lenny said with a smile. He knew that Tang Yin couldn't just call him old man like that. It wouldn't be very polite. Yes. Tang Yin nodded. It's a good thing I didn't tell my family about this. I don't know what my mom would do otherwise. Tang Yun couldn't do anything about her mother. Lenny smiled. Lenny couldn't do anything about Mrs. Tang, but when he was pursuing Tang Yun, Mrs. Tang always stood by his side. Lenny was very grateful, so he didn't say anything about Mrs. Tang's greedy request. The Chu clan's troubles were over, but some people's troubles weren't over yet. Everyone who was hostile to the Chu family and Lin Yi began to panic. The Xiao family. Xiao Ji and Xiao Ben looked at Uncle Pai on the sickbed, not knowing what to say. Although Uncle Pai's life was saved after a complicated procedure, he was now in a vegetative state. You wastrel. Xiao Ji looked at Uncle Pai, who was lying motionless on the bed with tubes all over his body. He slapped Go Huli's face angrily. You didn't watch your driving properly. Now that Uncle Pai is in a vegetative state, what will our Xiao family do? What will we do? Our position among the noble houses was already in danger. And now that there's no master here, the Xiao family is finished. Wah! Go Huli didn't dare say anything else, only wiping her tears. Cry, you only know how to cry. What's the use of crying? Xiao Ji was angry when he saw his wife. Why did he marry such a thing? The more he thought about it, the angrier he got. You're still crying, isn't this all your fault? If you didn't mess with Pengzhan's people, we wouldn't be enemies with them. If we didn't make enemies, how would we get Uncle Pai involved? Even if Uncle Pai is injured, you should at least watch your driving. Alright bro. Xiao Ben waved his hand. Now's not the time to argue. What's the use even if you beat sister-in-law to death? What's the point? Then, what should we do? Xiao Ji sighed. He didn't know what to do. That's why he vented his anger on Go Huli. First, in order to protect our Xiao family's interests, I suggest we marry House Kong as soon as possible, otherwise the Xiao family's position will be at stake. However, with the support of a large financial group like the Kong family, it is still beneficial to our Xiao family. At least we'll be able to get through this. Xiao Ji said. Second, we can try contacting Uncle Pai's school. He's been beaten up like this. Don't you think his school can just ignore it? We need to hurry up with the marriage with House Kong. Xiao Ji nodded. But Uncle Pai's school, we don't know where he came from. Plus, wasn't Uncle Pai hit by Go Huli? If you don't say, and I don't say, we'll just say it was Lin Yi who would know. Xiao Ben waved his hand. Even if they know it was sister-in-law, that's secondary. How could a mystic mid-phase physical practitioner be killed by a car? That's not realistic, right? That's true. But father didn't tell us where Uncle Pai came from. And he went. Xiao Ji nodded. And we didn't have time to ask Uncle Pai, did we? That's true. Xiao Ben frowned. How about this? Spread the news that Uncle Pai was beaten into a vegetative state by Lin Yi. Bro, but if we do that, will House Kong stop marrying us after hearing the news? Xiao Ji said worriedly. Do you think this news can be kept a secret? But Xiao Ben waved his hand and said, I reckon that before long, all the well-informed people will all know that something happened to our Xiao family. That's right. There's no way we can keep this a secret. Xiao Ji nodded. He went to contact House Kong and spread the news of Uncle Pai's vegetative state. Yanjing Houseyu. Shueixing looked at the corpse of his third brother, Yu Bide, in the middle of the living room. Tears streamed down his face. Bro, why did you leave just like that? Big brother isn't home, and we're the only ones left in Houseyu. Why did you leave me behind? Haitian stood at the side, not daring to say anything. Houseyu had dominated the common world for so many years, and this kind of tragedy had never happened before. Everyone in Houseyu didn't know what to do. Yu Kuren sat in his wheelchair, staring at his father's corpse. He couldn't accept this reality. He hadn't even recovered from his injuries, and his father had died. How could Lin Yi be so cruel? Chapter 963. Even more ruthless than you, impulsive. Shuixing waved his hand, his face dark. You're still going after Lin Yi in this situation? Aren't you stupid? Then, are we just going to let it go? Yu Feng paused. Little brother, I know you want to avenge me and my father, but second uncle is right. We can't be impulsive at a time like this. Yu Kuren was eager for revenge as well, but he understood that this wasn't the time to be impulsive. Feng, you're still young and impulsive. Shuixing nodded. Right now Lin Yi is obviously pretending to be weak. His strength hasn't disappeared at all, and he's even improved. Not only that, the dog beside him has also become a practitioner dog. Just how great of a background did he have to be in order to be able to do this? That dog, Yu Kuren had already beaten it to the brink of death. Just how many treasures would it take to heal it? Not to mention the other noble houses. Even our house, you might not be able to take out so many treasures, let alone using them on a dog. Plus, to train a dog into a practitioner dog, it's already hard enough for a person to train. And now they've gotten a practitioner dog. Is it because they don't have anywhere else to use the treasures? Or is it because there are too many masters out there, and they're just looking for fun? Yu Feng listened to his father's words and lowered his head. His father was right. From these little clues, one could see how powerful Lin Yi's background was. How could he act rashly? Then what do we do now? Just endure it? Yu Feng asked, a little discouraged. All we can do now is endure. You have to remember, those who want to achieve great things have to learn how to endure. Yu Wang Go Jian, isn't that the epitome of enduring? Shuixing said. I'll contact your uncle about this and see if he has any suggestions. As long as the hidden house you stands up for us, we don't have to be afraid of anything, but I'm afraid that the people over there won't make a move easily. Then we'll just have to endure it for now. Yu Feng nodded. The news that Lin Yi didn't lose his strength spread like wildfire. Zhen Dazhou and Zhen Yingjun were the first to know about it. When the father and son heard that Lin Yi didn't lose his strength, they were scared. They were afraid that Lin Yi would come to them. Godfather Ma, when will your master come out of seclusion? Lin Yi has not lost his strength. I heard that he is now seeking revenge from his enemies. Zhen Dazhou turned pale and said to Ma Zhu, people from House Yu and Xiao family are dead. Yao Wang and Zhao Qibing are injured to varying degrees. What should we do? Is Lin Yi's next target us? What? Lin Yi has regained his strength? Ma Zhu heard the news and felt that it was unbelievable, followed by a wave of sadness. If Lin Yi was crippled, he would feel better. But now Lin Yi was fine, but he was crippled. How could Ma Zhu feel good about this? Yeah, I'm afraid that Lin Yi will come to us for revenge. Zhen Dazhou said worriedly. He regretted provoking Lin Yi. Not only was his son's bloodline gone, but Ma Zhu was also heavily injured. Humph. If he dares, he'll die when my master comes. Ma Zhu laughed coldly. From his point of view, although Lin Yi wasn't simple, he was nothing in front of his master. When will Godfather Ma's master come? Can he hurry? I'm afraid that Lin Yi will come before he comes. Zhen Dazhou said worriedly. My master is an Earth-class master, but according to the rules of the Hidden House Arbitration Association, Earth-class masters can't appear in the common world unless there's a reason. He already applied to the Arbitration Association. Ma Zhu frowned and said. Ma Zhu knew his own situation. He knew that the rules of the hidden aristocratic families only applied to those hidden aristocratic families. To those big sects, it was useless. In front of those super ancient sects, these hidden aristocratic families were just a piece of cake. The hidden houses couldn't do anything about it. They didn't even have the right to know about the ancient sects. But Ma Zhu's sect was very small. It was just a newly established sect. This kind of small sect would naturally be restricted by the Hidden House Arbitration Association. I see. Zhen Dazhou nodded. Then what do we do now? My master said to wait for a while. When he comes, it'll be easy. Ma Zhu said. As soon as Ma Zhu finished his sentence, there was a knock on the door. Who? Zhen Dazhou asked subconsciously. Lin Yi. Lin Yi said faintly. Lin Yi already knew from Zhao Qibing where Zhen Dazhou and his son were staying. Lin Yi. Zhen Dazhou jumped and almost fell to the ground. He looked at Ma Zhu with fear. Godfather Ma, what do we do? Didn't I tell you to wait for a while? When my master comes, won't it be easy to get rid of him? Ma Zhu frowned impatiently. Although he hated Lin Yi, he knew that with his current strength, he couldn't do anything to Lin Yi. Oh, Zhen Dazhou walked over in fear and opened the door. He forced himself to be calm. Lin Yi, what are you doing here? We're even now, right? Godfather Ma was injured by you, and my son was crippled. What else do you want? Oh, we're even now. But this time, I'm here for something new. It has nothing to do with the last time. Lin Yi smiled and said calmly. Something new? What do you mean? Zhen Dazhou froze. Last time you blackmailed me. This time, it's my turn to blackmail you. Lin Yi said. Blackmail me? Zhen Dazhou's face changed. 500 million. I like to pay back double. You blackmailed me 250 million, so it's not a lot for me to blackmail you 500 million, right? Lin Yi smiled at Zhen Dazhou as if he was harmless. If you don't give it to me, I'll kidnap your son and go to Donghai to destroy all your properties. I'm good at demolishing buildings. I've already destroyed 2 of Zhao Qibing's buildings. Isn't it fun? Chapter 964. Talented girl of House Lu. Zhen Dazhou had never heard of a ransom like this. His face was green from anger, but he didn't dare do anything to Lin Yi. Who knew what would happen if he pissed off Lin Yi? Lin Yi even dared to kill people from Xiao family and House Yu, let alone him. Plus, Lin Yi said that if he didn't pay up, he'd go to Donghai and tear down his property. This made Dazhou feel extremely humiliated. Only now did he understand what it meant to be an evil person. Compared to Lin Yi, he was nothing. 500 million. I can't take it out. Dazhou suppressed his anger and said. Oh, then give me how much you have first. Lin Yi said. Write me an IOU if you don't have enough. All right. Dazhou gritted his teeth. I only have 250 million now. He knew that if he held it in, he'd have to wait for Ma Zhu's Shifu to come. How much Lin Yi wanted, he'd have to cough it up. Lin Yi was robbing him in the open, and he'd do the same. Ma Zhu's Shifu would just stand there and ask for money from Lin Yi and Pingzhan. If he didn't pay up, he'd kill his entire family. Dazhou, at this moment, had completely forgotten about the lessons of Xiao family, House Yu and Zhao Qibing. The people who threatened Lin Yi to kill Lin Yi's family were all killed by Lin Yi. But even if he thought of this, Dazhou didn't feel that there was anything wrong with it. As far as he was concerned, Ma Zhu's Shifu was much stronger than Lin Yi. He was an Earth-class master and had mastered the Golden Shield. Unless he was crushed by a meteor or something, normal road rollers wouldn't be able to do anything to him. No matter how strong Lin Yi was, he couldn't beat Jin Wudi, who was so much higher than him. Moreover, Mystic and Earth-class were worlds apart. With that thought, Zhen Dazhou took a deep breath and buried this hatred in his heart. He was going to wait for Jin Wudi to get back at Lin Yi. 250 million? Lin Yi frowned. I gave you 250 million already. Why do you have 250 million already? I did have money before, but I used it to treat Jining Jun. Zhen Dazhou's eyes were filled with hatred. How dare you ask me where the money went? If it wasn't for you, would I have spent so much money to treat Jining Jun? All right, 250 million it is. Transfer it to this account. Lin Yi said as he gave Dazhou an account number. Zhen Dazhou didn't do anything. He directly transferred 250 million to Lin Yi and wrote an IOU to Lin Yi. Yanjing House Lu. Although what happened in Songshan these days had nothing to do with Lu Tianyi paid more attention to the situation in Songshan than anyone else. Lin Yi was injured and lost all his strength. This was a piece of news that Lu Tianyi received. After the news of Lin Yi losing all his strength, House Lu exploded. Lu Zhenhu's son, Lu Tianli, came home with a long face and found Lu Tianyi unhappily. Big brother, I don't want to criticize you, but how can you just lend money like that? Our Lu family's money doesn't grow on trees. It's earned by me, every single cent. You're the heir of the house, and if you want to borrow money, I'll lend it to you without hesitation. But when you borrow money, shouldn't you investigate if the person has the ability to repay? I heard that Xiao family, House Yu, and the Hidden House's bastard Master Bing are all going to cause trouble for this Lin Yi. It's hard to say if he'll even be alive when that happens. How can he repay the money? Tianli, you need to look at the long term. Even if Lin Yi doesn't have his martial arts, he still has his medical skills. It's only a matter of time before he returns to the top of this world. Lu Tianyi wasn't too worried about the situation in Songshan. What's the use of medical skills if he's dead? Lu Tianli said, unconvinced. Dad, I think Uncle's right. This Lin Yi, if he's really as amazing as he says, then he'll be able to provide us with a helping hand in the future. A young girl beside Lu Zhenhu interrupted. House Lu started with business and politics, but we don't have any practitioners. This is a hindrance to House Lu's development. We may have a marriage alliance with House Wu, but we're still too weak. We need to find a new helping hand. Sometimes we need to gamble. This 100 million can be seen as a gamble. If we win, we'll get unimaginable benefits. If we lose, we'll just think of it as 100 million. If Dad doesn't feel good about it, then deduct it from my bonus. This young girl was Lu Tianli's daughter, Lu Jinghan. House Lu's genius. She started doing business with Lu Tianli when she was 15. To the outside world, Lu Tianli was the one in charge of House Lu's business, but those who knew the inside story knew that this 15-year-old girl was the one in charge of House Lu's business. She started her business at 15, doubled House Lu's business at 16, and doubled it again at 17. Right after her 18th birthday, Lu Zhenhu allowed her to participate in House Lu's meeting. Lu Zhenhu had already treated Lu Jinghan as the third generation of House Lu. The only regret was that she was a girl. If she were to become the head of House Lu, then unless her child was surnamed Lu, they wouldn't be able to become the next head of House Lu. They'd have to pick someone else from the family. Tianli Jingjing's right. We have to look at the long term. Lu Zhenhu spoke up as well. If Lin Yi gets through this successfully, then House Lu will have built a good relationship with Lin Yi. House Lu will benefit greatly in the future as well. You may be good at business, but you're not as good at the big picture as Jing Jing. You still have to learn. Yes, father. Tianli heard that his father had spoken up, and naturally he wouldn't say anything more. After all, he admired his daughter a lot. Chapter 965. Making friends with a love rival? Yeah, Tianli, if it weren't for Lin Yi, father wouldn't be this healthy right now. So this 100 million, even if it's to thank him, what's the harm? Lu Tianyi said. I understand. Tianli nodded. However, while House Lu was in the middle of a meeting, news came from the other side. Lin Yi didn't lose his strength, but was pretending to be weak. Yu Bide was dead, Uncle Pai was in a vegetative state, and Zhao Qibing's leg was broken. House Lu's couldn't help but look at each other when they heard the news. Lin Yi was at a disadvantage just a moment ago, so how did he turn the situation around in the next instant? Turning from passive to active? Plus, wasn't Lin Yi a little too ruthless? He even dared to kill House Yu's Yu Bide, and even Xiao family's Uncle Pai was in a vegetative state? Even the hidden house Zhao Qibing's leg was broken by Lin Yi? Huh. This Lin Yi, he tricked us all. He was pretending to be weak all this time? We were worried about him for nothing. Lu Tianyi couldn't help but let out a long sigh of relief. Lin Yi was fine, so House Lu was the happiest. Lin Yi would probably remember that 100 million, and he wouldn't mistreat House Lu in the future. Indeed, I was short-sighted. Tianli sighed in self-mockery, but this Lin Yi sure is ruthless, isn't he? What he did, didn't he offend House Yu, Xiao family and the hidden house Zhao? Wouldn't House Lu be in trouble if we get in touch with him? Lu Tianyi fell into deep thought after hearing Tianli's words. The situation was indeed complicated. Lin Yi, House Yu, and the Xiao family were mortal enemies, and this hatred couldn't be resolved. If House Lu still stood on Lin Yi's side, wouldn't that put them in a passive position? With House Lu's current strength, it wasn't appropriate for them to become enemies with House Yu and Xiao family at the same time. Jing, what do you think? Zhenhu didn't make any comments. Instead, he looked at his granddaughter and asked for her opinion. I think it's time to disclose the fact that Lin Yi saved Grandpa. Lu Jinghan pondered for a moment and said, Oh. Tianli paused, not understanding the connection between these two things. His daughter's question was completely irrelevant. Tianli was the conservative type. It was okay to keep a business, but it was hard to start a business. Wonderful. Jing, you are indeed the talented daughter of our Lu family. Lu Tianyi suddenly clapped his hands and laughed. Lin Yi is the benefactor of our Lu family. It's only right and proper for us to be close to him. Otherwise, it would be repaying kindness with enmity. We helped Lin Yi for a reason, and even if House Yu and Xiao family knew about it, they wouldn't be able to say anything. I see, Tianli said, understanding dawning on him. That's right. Although many of the noble houses do some dirty things behind the scenes, they still care about face and reason on the surface. We, House Lu, are indebted to Lin Yi, and if we don't stand on Lin Yi's side, then we'll be disloyal. Jinhu nodded. Let's do as Jingjing says. Yes, father. Lu Tianyi and Lu Tianli agreed. Lu Jinghan, on the other hand, didn't look happy or pleased at all. She stood quietly behind Jinhu, but a trace of suspicion flashed across her beautiful eyes. Was this Lin Yi really pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger? Was there something she didn't know about? What a strange person. Lu Jinghan shook her head. She wasn't sure if this 100 million was enough to exchange for Lin Yi's friendship. Lin Yi went to Zhen Dazhou for the money after parting ways with Tang Yun, giving him Pingzhan's account. After Dazhou transferred the money, Lin Yi returned to House Chu's villa. The villa's door was already brand new, and the broken parts were repaired, but the cement wasn't dry yet. Pengzhan didn't go to the company yet, but went to Faubert's room. Lin Yi's injuries were healed, and his strength had returned. Could he cure Faubert? Lin Yi had lost all his strength, and Pengzhan couldn't ask Lin Yi to cure Faubert. He could only bring Faubert with him when they were escaping, and let Lin Yi think of a way. But now, everything was in the past. Pengzhan wanted to ask Lin Yi to see if he could cure Faubert. The Miss and Yushu, on the other hand, were sitting on the sofa in the living room, whispering to each other. Why isn't Shield Bro back yet? What's he doing? Yushu looked at the clock in the living room, calculating the time. He's probably going to see Tang Yun. He's not going back home anymore, so he has to go talk to her. Mengyao knew Lin Yi very well. He treated Tang Yun very well. Oh, I wonder if Tang Yun will be disappointed? Shield Bro's going to be with us again. She'll probably faint from anger when she hears about it. Yushu said excitedly. Shu, don't talk nonsense. Mengyao spoke up for Tang Yun for the first time. Actually, Tang Yun is very selfless. She can give up everything here and go back home with Lin Yi. This shows that she cares about Lin Yi a lot. Since she was chosen by Lin Yi, then we should accept her when we accept Lin Yi. Oh, then Yao sis, do you accept Tang Yun as Shield Bro's second wife? Yushu asked. What do you mean by second wife? Mengyao glared at Yushu and frowned. What I mean is, we can all be good friends, at least we won't be at each other's throats like we are now. How can a love rival become good friends? Yushu asked curiously. Who's the love rival? I told you I don't like Lin Yi, Mengyao said. Oh Yao sis, you're lying. Yushu didn't believe it. Okay, then let's say I like Lin Yi. It's just an example, it's not real, Mengyao said. Mengyao said, but you like your Shield Bro too, and you want to be his concubine? Are we rivals in love then? Ugh. I think so. Yushu shook her head. Then are we good friends? Mengyao asked again. I think so, Yushu nodded. Then why can't we be friends with Tang Yun? Mengyao asked again. But, Yao sis, what you said is just an assumption. You said you don't like Lin Yi, it's not real, Yushu said. Yeah, if it's not real, then we aren't love rivals, right? Mengyao was pleased with herself. She finally got Yushu into it. Oh, Yushu was a little confused, she shook her head. Then be friends with her, I don't care, it's good enough to be a second wife. Chapter 966. Borrow and return. As the saying goes, a palace maid who doesn't want to be an empress isn't a good palace maid. Yushu said. Then why are you still a small wife? Mengyao was confused after hearing Yushu's words. I'm not done yet. But a wife who doesn't fight for the first wife is a good wife. Yushu added. Mengyao rolled her eyes, speechless. The two were talking when Lin Yi pushed the door open. He saw Mengyao and Yushu in the living room, but Pengzhan wasn't there. Uncle Chu left already? No, Daddy's in Faubert's room. Mengyao shook her head. Lin Yi, you didn't go to school? Oh. Lin Yi was slightly startled, not understanding what the eldest miss was referring to. Actually, Mengyao wanted to ask Lin Yi if he went to see Tang Yun, but Lin Yi didn't understand. She couldn't say it out loud, so she just said, it's nothing. Pengzhan heard the conversation in the living room, and walked out to see Lin Yi. Lin Yi, do you have anything else to do now? No more. Linny shook his head. By the way, Uncle Chu, I've asked Zhendazhou to transfer 250 million back to your account, but 100 million was borrowed from Lu Tianyi. You have to return it to him. Ah. Money's coming in already? Peng Zhan's eyes widened. Yes, I told him that if he didn't give me the money, I would kidnap his son and raise his businesses in the East China Sea. Then he gave me the money, Linny said casually, as if he was talking about something very ordinary. Peng Zhan was speechless after hearing Lin Yi's words. He could get money like that? This Zhendazhou is really a coward. Where did the domineering attitude he had when he kidnapped Yao Yao and asked for money go? But now, Peng Zhan understood that the so-called dominance was something that could only be displayed in front of those who had no strength. Just like himself, he didn't know what to do when facing the kidnappers, didn't he too, not knowing what to do? Zhendazhou, on the other hand, had probably lost his temper because of Lin Yi's threats. Who asked House Yu, Xiao family, and Zhao Qibing to learn from their mistakes? No matter how stupid Zhendazhou was, he wouldn't go against Lin Yi at this time. Shield bro, you're amazing. How did you get money like this? If you don't like someone, you can just scare them for money. Yushu said excitedly. Shu, don't talk nonsense. Extorting someone is a crime. Mingyao stopped Shu from continuing. What I'm saying is that Shield bro specializes in extorting bad guys. Yushu added. It's better to be like that, you bide, slapping him to death. Mingyao said. Yaorao sis, you're even more vicious than me. Yushu exclaimed. Lil. Since there's nothing else, can you take a look at Faubert's injury? Peng Zhan waved his hand, telling the two girls to leave Linny alone and asked Linny. Uncle Chu, I came back in a hurry to take a look at Faubert's injury. Linny said. Let's go, we'll go now. Okay. I'll ask the accountant to transfer the money to Lu Tianyi. Peng Zhan received a notification from the bank and asked Linny. Untransfer it. I'll call Lu Tianyi. Linny nodded. Okay. Peng Zhan replied and went to handle the transfer. Linny dialed Lu Tianyi's number. The Lius were having a family meeting and had just come up with a strategy when Lin Yi's call came in. Lu Tianyi quickly picked up. Hello? Miracle Dr. Lin, hello. Mr. Lu, I've used up the money. I'm preparing to transfer it back to your account. Please check when the money arrives. Thank you for your trouble. Linny said gratefully. House Lu's generosity at this time made Linny look at them in a different light. His impression of Lu Tianyi improved a lot. Godly Dr. Lin, you're too kind. What's there to return? You can just take it and use it. Aren't you looking down on our Lu family by returning it? Lu Tianyi heard Lin Yi's words and felt a little disappointed. Miracle Dr. Lin, do you not see me as a friend anymore? Why would I? If we weren't friends, I wouldn't have asked Mr. Lu. Linny said calmly. But there's a saying that goes, it's easy to borrow again when you've borrowed it. If Mr. Lu doesn't want it anymore, I won't dare to ask Mr. Lu again. Is that so? Lu Tianyi hesitated. He smiled bitterly and nodded. All right. Since Miracle Dr. Lin insists, I'll do as you say. Hee, but to thank Mr. Lu for your generosity, I can help you or your friend with a free treatment. Linny naturally wasn't someone who didn't thank others after using them. Naturally, he had to give Lu Tianyi some benefits. How can I accept that? Lu Tianyi was flattered and disappointed at the same time. After all, Linny returned the money and promised House Lu a treatment. That meant that he was even with House Lu. This made Lu Tianyi, who wanted to build a good relationship with Lin Yi, fail. It's nothing. Linny smiled. That's all for now. I still have something to do here. All right, Miracle Dr. Lin, I'll leave you to your work. Lu Tianyi hung up and sighed helplessly. What's wrong, brother? You don't look too happy? Linny already returned the money. What's not good about it? Tianli roughly understood what Linny was talking about. Not only did he return the money, but Linny also promised House Lu something. Why didn't he look too happy? Linny transferred 100 million back to my account. Lu Tianyi smiled bitterly. Plus Linny promised me that he could give House Lu a free treatment. That's a good thing. Tianli didn't understand what Lu Tianyi was saying. Not only did Lin Yi return the money, he also promised us something good. This is a great thing. Why aren't you happy? Tianli, you've been doing business for so long. You've been making steady profits every year, but you haven't broken through yet. Why is that? Jinhu spoke up. And Jing only went for a year, and the profits doubled. Why is that? Chapter 967. Chapter 965. You're from House Sun? It's your vision, but your vision is still that of a businessman, not an entrepreneur. Jinhu said. Businessmen focus on profit when they do business. And if there's a price, there must be a price to pay. Otherwise, it'll be a loss. You, on the other hand, wouldn't do something that's a loss. That's why the family business has been profitable all these years, never losing anything. This is your ability. Tianli, on the other hand, lowered his head in silence, as if he was being taught a lesson. Entrepreneurs, on the other hand, have to look at the long term, not at the short term. Jinhu said. Jing, why don't you tell us what you think about this? Yes, Grandpa. Lu Jinghan nodded slightly and said, Linny returned the money to House Lu and promised us something. This means that Linny doesn't really treat House Lu as a friend, but as a token of gratitude, he's done with House Lu. We may have gotten some benefits for now, but it's not something to be happy about. Did you hear that? Tianli, this is the difference between you and Jing. She can multiply the group's profits in her hands, and you, on the other hand, are just sticking to the rules. Jinhu waved his hand. Forget it, it's too easy to get Lin Yi's friendship with just this. We'll have more chances in the future. I heard that the ranking of the noble houses might change in the upcoming meeting, and it looks like Family Zhao's name is fated to be erased from the list. Yeah, who's next after Family Zhao? Looking at the strength of all the noble houses, House Lu is the weakest. Lu Tianyi said. Although we'll be able to maintain our position in the near future, who knows what will happen in the future? Lin Yi naturally didn't have the time to think about House Lu's loss. He'd already followed Pengzhan to Faubert's room. At this moment, Faubert was lying quietly on the hospital bed, motionless. His body was still full of silver needles, which were inserted by Lin Yi before. Lin Yi quickly checked Faubert's physical condition, and found that it had not deteriorated, so he could not help but breathe a sigh of relief. How is it, Yi? Can you save him? Pengzhan asked anxiously. Sure. Lin Yi nodded and said, let Yao and Shu stay in the living room and alert me at any time. If there's an intruder, let me know immediately. All right. Pengzhan didn't dare to delay, and quickly walked out of the room to order Meng Yao and Yushu. He knew that Lin Yi was going to use his unique method to heal Faubert, so he didn't dare to disturb him and quietly left the room, closing the door for Lin Yi. Lin Yi didn't plan to heal Faubert in one day. Although on the surface, the enemies seemed to have calmed down after being beaten up by Lin Yi, but there was no guarantee that there would still be people who would do something desperate. So Lin Yi planned to heal Faubert in a few days, so that he could recover quickly after his energy loss. After all, even if Faubert was healed, he would still be a cripple, so Lin Yi wasn't in a hurry. After all, physical practitioners were different from spiritual practitioners. Lin Yi could only heal Faubert's injuries to the most basic state, but he couldn't let him recover his strength. This was because physical practitioners trained the body, and Lin Yi couldn't train for him. Lin Yi activated the art of dragon mastery, and started to heal Faubert's meridians. The energy in Lin Yi's body was continuously transferred to Faubert's body, quickly healing his damaged organs. Lin Yi planned to heal Faubert's internal injuries first, then his external injuries. Once the internal injuries were healed, Faubert could wake up. As for whether he could get off the bed or not, it wasn't too important. Half an hour later, Lin Yi let out a long breath. Healing Faubert's damaged organs cost Lin Yi a third of his energy. When he healed Faubert, Lin Yi didn't hold back like when he healed Wuxia. He completely healed Faubert's organs. Faubert had been lying on the bed for a long time. Once his organs were healed, he slowly woke up. Seeing Lin Yi in front of the bed, he was slightly stunned and said anxiously, Mr. Lin, hurry up and save Miss and Shu, they were captured. Ha, I've already saved them. Lin Yi smiled. He didn't expect Faubert to be so loyal, sacrificing himself for Yao and Shu. And the first thing he said after he woke up was to ask him to save them. Phew. Faubert let out a long breath. That's good, that's good. Mr. Lin, you saved me? Yes, it must be, I'm asking the obvious. Thank you. Faubert, you're treating me like an outsider. We're not strangers, and you got injured because of Yao Yao and Shu. How can I not care? Lin Yi smiled indifferently. He didn't think that healing Faubert was a credit. I can't thank you enough. Faubert nodded. Oh right, Mr. Lin. Call me Little E, that's what Uncle Chu calls me. Lin Yi interrupted Faubert. That's fine, I'll call you Little E then. Faubert hesitated and agreed. Little E, I've always been curious. Your pure energy can actually be used to heal others. You have to know that only disciples of the same sect can use their pure energy with each other. If you're not from the same sect, not only will your pure energy not benefit others, it will also cause harm. I know that, but I'm a bit special. Lin Yi naturally knew what Faubert was talking about. Different types of pure energy entering a spiritual practitioner's body would require more pure energy to refine, or else it would be life-threatening. This was also why Lin Yi didn't use the art of dragon mastery, and sent his energy into Yao Wang's body. Not only could his pure energy not be used by Yao Wang, but it could also severely injure him. You're from House Sun? Faubert hesitated and asked. House Sun? Which House Sun? Lin Yi paused. Aren't you? Faubert saw Lin Yi's shocked expression and knew he guessed wrong. He shook his head. Yes, House Sun can't heal so many people at once. Their pure energy can only be used by one or a few people. What do you mean? Lin Yi was a bit interested. Faubert, you mean that this House Sun has the same ability as me? It was the first time Lin Yi heard of a house that had the same ability as him, using pure energy to heal others. Chapter 968. A crazy idea. This House Sun is the so-called healing house? Lin Yi asked. Yes, the Sun family is still one of the 4 big aristocratic families, and 5 small aristocratic families. The children of the Sun family can also be said to be inner force cultivators, but they are not good at fighting with others. The true qi in their bodies can only be used to heal others or improve their skills. Uncle Fu nodded and said, but most of the Sun family's children can only heal one person in their lifetime before they break through the first level of their family's secret art. Once the true qi in their body is assimilated by someone else, it can no longer be changed. Unless he breaks through to the second level, he will be able to heal 2 people, and so on. Currently, the head of the Sun clan can only heal 4 people. However, he has already used up 3 spots, and there is only 1 left. Oh. Lin Yi found Faubert's words strange. House Sun's cultivation method was similar to his, but completely different. They had to spend a lot of effort to break through to the next stage in order to heal 1 more person. But he was only at the first stage of the art of dragon mastery, and his energy was omnipotent. Therefore, the descendants of the Sun family are the targets that all the aristocratic families want to rope in through marriage. Which aristocratic family doesn't want a life-saving trump card? Faubert's face turned gloomy at this point. Forget it. Let's not talk about this. You probably have nothing to do with House Sun anymore. Of course my surname is Lin, not Sunday. Lin Yi nodded. But Faubert, you seem to have something to say? You seem to have a deep connection with this House Sun? Lil Yi, there are some things I've never mentioned to Mr. Chu. Because he's not a person of the Jianghu. I don't want him to worry about these things. Faubert sighed. But you're a person of the Jianghu. Just think of it as me nagging you because I'm old. Since you've heard it, then forget it. I think this is all I'll be for the rest of my life. It's impossible for me to recover my strength. Now that I've told you these things in my heart, I can be at ease and be an old housekeeper. Faubert, go ahead. Lin Yi could tell from the start that Li Fu was a man with a story. There were many times when he saw Lin Yi that Li Fu wanted to say something, but didn't. Now that he was injured, he knew that he couldn't recover his strength. He was depressed and wanted to talk to someone, and Lin Yi was a good listener. Lily, you guessed right. My wife is from House Sun. At this point, Uncle Fu's murky eyes seemed to flash with a glimmer of light, as if he had returned to his younger days. And my real name is not Li Fu. Lin Yi didn't expect Faubert's wife to be from House Sunday then before. There's no need to talk about my previous identity. Failure. Faubert sighed. That was 20 years ago. At that time, I was proud of myself. As the young head, I had the strength of a peak late-phase mystic class. I could be said to be one of the best in all the sections. I married a woman from House Sun, and with her help, I broke through to Earth class. I was young and successful. What? You're in Earth class? Lin Yi's eyes widened as he looked at Faubert in disbelief. Faubert was an Earth class, but he was only a Golden class before. An Earth class early phase spiritual practitioner. Uncle Fu nodded his head with a hint of pride in his eyes. However, he soon let out a bitter sigh. But a disaster has befallen us. Our sect has been destroyed, my wife has been killed, my daughter has gone missing, and the sect's treasures have been stolen. I don't even know who the enemy is. What? Linny couldn't be more shocked. If it weren't for the fact that he'd known Faubert for so long and knew that he wouldn't lie so easily, Linny would have thought that Faubert was making up a story. I've hidden my identity for so many years, investigating the truth of the matter in secret. But there's no news. These years, my desire for revenge has faded. Seeing Miss Chu is like seeing my own daughter, so I took care of her with all my heart. It can be said that I've found some comfort. Faubert sighed. Isn't it a little strange? Linny nodded without hesitation. So you're a spiritual practitioner? After my meridians were damaged, I hid my identity and trained in physical arts again. At that time, I only wanted to stand at the peak again, to avenge my wife and daughter, and my sect. But now, I don't even know who the enemy is, not to mention revenge. Faubert shook his head and said, I'm telling you because it's uncomfortable to keep it in my heart. Just treat it as a story. After listening to it, it'll be over. Faubert didn't expect Lin Yi to help him with anything. These secrets had been kept in his heart for so long that it made him feel a little depressed. Now that he had said it, he was relieved. Lin Yi knew that Faubert didn't speak in detail. There were many details that he didn't mention. He only roughly described his past. But although Lin Yi was puzzled, it wasn't good for him to ask. After all, these were the scars in Faubert's heart. If Lin Yi asked, it would only make Faubert more sad. If Faubert wanted to say it, he would slowly tell him the truth in the future. If Faubert didn't want to say it, then it was useless for him to ask. You used to be a spiritual practitioner? An Earth class at that? A crazy idea popped up in Lin Yi's mind. Yes. Faubert nodded and smiled. But a real man doesn't boast about his past achievements. It's all in the past. I've said it all. Just treat it as a story. Faubert, if it's possible to recover your strength, do you want to try? Lin Yi asked after thinking for a while. Recover my strength? Faubert was obviously stunned, but then he smiled bitterly. You want me to start from the beginning again? I don't have any confidence anymore. Lin Yi, I understand that you want me to pull myself together, but I've really given up. I thought that I could have a breakthrough in my physical kung fu, but all these years, I've been stuck at the peak of the late phase of the Golden class. Even if I wanted to break through to the Mystic class, it's still far away. You have to know that physical and spiritual are two completely different things. The higher you go, the harder it is to break through. Haha, I'm talking about the spiritual style. Lin Yi smiled and said. Spiritual style? Faubert was slightly stunned, but there was a flash of surprise in his eyes. He then said with some uncertainty, You mean, you can help me practice spiritual kung fu again? But my meridians? I can repair them. Lin Yi nodded and said with certainty. Chapter 969. Creating an Earth class if his own meridians could be repaired. Then Faubert's meridians could definitely be repaired as well. His own energy was omnipotent, and Lin Yi believed that it wouldn't be difficult to do so. It was just a matter of time. As long as he didn't use up all the energy in his body every time, he'd be able to recover his strength in a short period of time, and his enemies wouldn't be able to take advantage of him. But after he repaired Faubert's meridians, Lin Yi wasn't sure if Faubert would still be able to practice inner chi again. But no matter what, as soon as this idea came to his mind, Lin Yi couldn't help but want to test it out. If Faubert's strength was restored, then Lin Yi would have an Earth class by his side. Just thinking about it was enough to make Lin Yi excited. You're saying, you can repair meridians? Faubert asked, a little uncertain. Yes. House Sun could do it, so you should be able to as well. Faubert, I'll use some time to help you repair your meridians. Lin Yi nodded and said with certainty. A trace of excitement flashed through Uncle Fu's eyes, but it was quickly extinguished. Lil Yi, even if my meridians are healed, I don't have any qi left in my body. If I want to cultivate, I'll have to start from scratch. What's wrong with starting from scratch? Lin Yi said. You were able to reach the early phase of an Earth class 20 years ago. Isn't that because of your talent? It's not too late to start from scratch now. Of course I have talent. Uncle Fu sighed. However, my strength is the result of the accumulation of countless heavenly treasures, and the help of that thing. That's why I have such unparalleled strength. But now, Lin Yi fell silent after listening to Uncle Fu's words. He'd underestimated the situation a little too much. Yes, Faubert may have been an Earth class before, but he might not be able to reach it again. One had to know that in many cases, leveling up and breaking through required luck and luck. No matter what, let's repair your meridians first. Maybe there's another way? Lin Yi didn't want to give up. The temptation of an Earth class was too great. If there really was an Earth class, then Maju and the like would be nothing. Very well. Since you have such high hopes for me, how could I let you down? Uncle Fu nodded with a smile. Thinking about how I still have to protect Miss Chu, I'll continue cultivating as well. Alright, we'll stop here for today. I'll come every day to help you repair your meridians and injuries until you're fully recovered. Every day? Faubert smiled bitterly in surprise. Your qi recovery is quite fast. I don't even know where you absorbed it from. You have to know that the qi in the city is thin to a certain extent. Every time you lose a lot of strength, you can recover very quickly. It's really amazing. Hehe. Lin Yi smiled and didn't explain. He couldn't tell outsiders about the jade space. These secrets could only be shared with the old man. Lin Yi couldn't trust anyone else. If you're bored and reminisce about the past, you can continue to chat with me. Okay. Faubert understood Lin Yi's meaning. He wanted to ask about the details of his past, but Faubert didn't want to tell Lin Yi too much. With Lin Yi's current strength, there was no need for him to know these things. It wouldn't do Lin Yi any good. I'll keep what happened today a secret from Uncle Chu. Lin Yi turned and left Faubert's room. Thank you, Faubert said seriously. It wasn't just that Lin Yi wanted to keep it a secret. It was that Lin Yi wanted to help him recover his meridians and strength. Pengzhan Mingyao and Yushu sat on the sofa anxiously, waiting for Lin Yi's news. Faubert could be said to be Pengzhan's right-hand man. He'd been loyal to him all these years, so he cared a lot about Faubert's safety. As for Mingyao, other than Pengzhan, Lin Yi and Shu, the person closest to her was Faubert. So in her heart, she prayed that Lin Yi could cure Faubert. Yushu may have been joking around all day, but in her heart, she was the most loyal fan of Shield Bro. She also cared about Faubert, but she was even more certain that Shield Bro could cure Faubert. The first rule of a mistress was to believe that her man was the best. How is it? Pengzhan saw Lin Yi coming out and quickly walked over. Faubert is awake, but the follow-up treatment will take a few days. Lin Yi said. He's awake? That's great. Pengzhan's face lit up. Thank you so much. Uncle Chu, you're being too polite. Lin Yi waved his hand. It's nothing. Can we see him? Pengzhan asked. Of course. Other than the fact that Faubert can't get out of bed yet, he's very energetic. Lin Yi thought that Pengzhan was being too careful. Faubert was just telling him a story. However, Pengzhan was using common sense. As far as he was concerned, Faubert was like a patient who had just come down from the operating table, and Lin Yi was the surgeon. That was why Pengzhan asked Lin Yi like other family members. The pressure on House Chu disappeared in an instant, and Pengzhan Industries returned to normal. Even some of the higher-ups of the company didn't know what happened a few days ago, but since Pengzhan didn't want to talk about it, they didn't ask. In short, everything was over. Songshan regained its peace. All the enemies of Pengzhan Industries seemed to have gone into hibernation and disappeared without a trace. Even Zhao Qibing wasn't arrogant anymore. He quietly went to the slums and started a renovation project. All he could do now was to make some money from his own business. Yawang's body was full of needles, but he still hadn't found a solution. Although Yawang was a mystic class master and could sleep sitting down, these needles were like a time bomb that could make him lose all his strength at any time. Lin Yi's life returned to normal, but now Lin Yi took over Faubert's job, becoming the Miss and Shu's driver every day. The Bentley was repaired, but Lin Yi didn't like to drive such a formal car. Lin Yi wasn't a professional driver, so he chose Mingyao's Audi S5. However, there was one more person to pick him up, Tang Yin. Chapter 970. Spilled the beans. Mingyao was still as cold as ever. She and Shu sat at the back of the S5, leaving the front passenger seat for Tang Yin. Only when Tang Yin got in and out of the car did Miss greet her. Although it was a little indifferent, it was less hostile. It was more like a normal friend nodding at her. Tang Yin's attitude towards Miss was strange. In the past, Mingyao and Shu would always show hostility when they saw her. But now, it seemed like they were treating her as a normal friend. Did they look down on her and didn't see her as a competitor anymore? Or did they give up on Lin Yi? If it was the former, Tang Yin felt that she couldn't let her guard down. But if it was the latter, Tang Yin would feel strange. If they didn't like Lin Yi, then her four-person team was too strange. In fact, Tang Yin didn't understand Miss's personality. Miss was cold on the outside, but warm on the inside. When she accepted someone, she would change from cold to warm. In fact, Miss's attitude towards Lin Yi was still cold, but in her heart, she treated him as a friend that couldn't be lost. Mingyao didn't know what to say to Tang Yin. Plus, with Lin Yi here, she couldn't say anything. She wanted to try to get to know Tang Yin, but she realized that the two of them were living in two different worlds. Miss hadn't experienced Tang Yin's family before. Mingyao didn't want to talk about her own family either. It would be like showing off in front of Tang Yin. 2 days later, Lin Yi himself was starting to feel uncomfortable. In the car, he wanted to say something to Tang Yin, but he remembered that Miss was staring at him from behind, so he couldn't say anything to Tang Yin. Miss also didn't want to talk to Tang Yin because Tang Yin was in front. She didn't even talk to Shu. In the past, the young Miss and Shu would talk about all sorts of topics. However, the two of them were financially well off, so it was natural for them to talk about new clothing styles and cosmetics. But now, the young Miss seemed to be purposely avoiding these topics. Fortunately, after 2 days of Lin Yi's treatment, Falbert's body had recovered to its original state. It was just that he didn't have the strength of a physical practitioner, but it didn't affect his movements. The task of the full-time driver fell on Falbert again, which made Lin Yi let out a sigh of relief. On the highway from Yanjing to Songshan, a black Audi with a special license plate was speeding along. In the car, a middle-aged man and a young girl were talking. These two were Feng Tianlong and Xiao Xiao, father and daughter. I won't go there again. Unhappiness was written all over Xiao Xiao's face. We've wasted so much time, and we haven't gotten any results yet. How many more months do I have left? Xiao Xiao, you should believe in the current medical technology. Look, this is the report when you first came to Yanjing, and this is the report when we left. Your condition has obviously improved. Tianlong pointed at the report. Better? Did they cure him? All they do is make me draw blood every day, and that's it? Xiao Xiao pouted. I even had a relapse in the middle of the journey. If it weren't for Lin Yi, I'd be dead already. Lin Yi. Tianlong's eyes narrowed when he heard the name. As one of the most secretive intelligence departments, Feng Tianlong knew everything that happened in Songshan City. Lin Yi was up against the bastard of House Yu, Xiao family and House Xiao. Although Yu Bide and Uncle Pai's death had nothing to do with Lin Yi, it was still Lin Yi's fault. His grudge with House Yu, Xiao family, and House Xiao was now set in stone. What interested Tianlong the most was that Lin Yi was able to recover and regain his strength so quickly after being heavily injured. And so was the dog beside him. That meant that there had to be a very powerful medical expert by Lin Yi's side. Tianlong's information was naturally the most comprehensive and detailed, but he still couldn't find out who it was that healed Lin Yi and helped him regain his strength. Lin Yi had gone to Xu Amin's house once during this time, but it was only after his injuries had healed. The possibility of it being Xu Amin wasn't high. Tianlong had guessed that this person was Xu Amin, and the reason he came back to Songshan with Xiao Xiao was to see Xu Amin and ask him for a pill of life extension and toxin cleansing. He wanted to see if it could cure Xiao Xiao's illness, but after this incident, Tianlong felt that the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing didn't seem to be made by Xu Amin. If Xu Amin could make these miraculous medicines, he would have done it a long time ago. Why would he wait until now? Plus, Why did everything that had to do with Lin Yi become so strange and mysterious? Lin Yi's figure had appeared at the auction as well. Lin Yi had helped his team on a mission before, but Lin Yi was an external helper at the time, and his identity was kept a secret. Tianlong knew the rules, and he didn't ask too much about Lin Yi. But now for his daughter, Tianlong had no choice but to ask Lin Yi about some things. Plus, there was another meaning to this. His daughter seemed to like Lin Yi. Did it happen when you were in Yanjing? Why didn't I know about it? Tianlong turned to his daughter. Why didn't you tell me about something this big? It's not that big. I was just taking a shower when I suddenly fainted. Luckily, Lin Yi found me in time, and I don't know how he did it, but I recovered pretty quickly. Xiao Xiao didn't want her father to worry, and it wasn't a big deal. She was fine, wasn't she? So she didn't say anything. You were taking a shower, and Lin Yi was beside you? Tianlong blinked. Wah. Xiao Xiao realized that she'd spilled the beans, and her face reddened, a little embarrassed. No. I just. It's not what you think. It was the first time Xiao Xiao was rambling in front of her father, like a child who'd done something wrong. She waved her hands around, not even knowing what she was saying. Chapter 971. Chapter 0969. Father Feng goes to Linia. What are you saying? I don't understand. Xiao Xiao covered her ears, not daring to listen anymore. Her heart, however, jumped. Was she going to fall in love? All this time, Xiao Xiao had been avoiding friendship and love, the two most important emotions in her life. She knew her situation, knew that she might die one day, and she was afraid of that kind of separation between friends and lovers. She didn't want to die in pain, and she didn't want others to feel the same pain and reluctance. So in her 18 years of life, friendship and love were practically non-existent. She didn't have any real friends, just a bunch of friends who played around with her. If she were to disappear one day, just like now, she'd have less contact with her racing friends, and they wouldn't purposely come looking for her. Soon enough, there would be new people joining them. Xiao Xiao felt like she was just a passerby in this world, a bystander, coming and going in a hurry. When it was the last lesson of her life, she'd leave peacefully by herself. But her father's words today opened up Xiao Xiao's sealed heart. Although she was afraid of the hurt that friendship and love would bring when they parted, she still had some expectations and desires for the ups and downs that friendship and love brought. If she had a close friend and a lover who could understand her heart, she would probably die without regrets, right? But Xiao Xiao felt that it was a little selfish of her to do that. Friendship was fine, but love? Was she going to let her lover suffer the pain of losing her? Xiao Xiao felt that it was cruel. Xiao Xiao didn't say anything about it, but she could see how much her dad had been suffering these past years. He missed her very, very much, but there was nothing he could do. He could only work his ass off to ease the pain of missing her. Sometimes, when a small thought is planted in the heart, it becomes a seed that will slowly take root and germinate in the body. In the end, it will uncontrollably become a small tree that bursts out of the soil. Xiao Xiao didn't dare think about love before. She knew that she didn't have the right to think about it. But with her father's encouragement today, her heart was starting to soften. She really wanted to be in love before she died, even if it was just a taste of love. But no, that would hurt others. Xiao Xiao liked to play pranks, but it was always within a controllable range to create some misunderstandings and trouble, especially against people she hated. She couldn't bear to do it to her lover. Dad, do you miss Mom? Xiao Xiao asked suddenly. Oh. Tianlong paused, and a painful expression flashed in his eyes. Yes, of course I will. Why are you suddenly asking about this? Then let me find a boyfriend. He'll miss me too, he'll be in pain. Xiao Xiao shook her head. Plus, my child will be like me, missing his mother. I don't want them to be in pain. Xiao Xiao. Tianlong sighed. How could he not understand his daughter's thoughts? However, his daughter's thoughts made him even more determined to have a chat with Lin Yi. Haha, don't worry about me, Dad. I'm doing pretty well right now. As long as you don't take me to see a doctor, I'll live a happy life. Xiao Xiao shook her head and said casually. Xiao Xiao, tell me the truth. Do you like Lin Yi or not? Feng Tianlong didn't answer his daughter's question. Instead, he solemnly turned his head and looked at his daughter. Ah. Xiao Xiao didn't think that her father would still harp on this question. and it was getting more and more direct. Xiao Xiao found it hard to answer. Did she like Lin Yi? Xiao Xiao didn't know. Her initial feelings towards him were just anger, and she wanted revenge. All of a sudden, Xiao Xiao thought of something. If she pretended to like Lin Yi, wouldn't she be able to have a taste of love? And if she died, Lin Yi would be sad for sure. Wouldn't she achieve her revenge on Lin Yi? Lin Yi, you pissed on me and set firecrackers on my butt. That's a huge humiliation. I've decided. I'll like you from today onwards, and when you fall deeply in love with me, I'll die. Let's see if you'll be sad or not. Of course, Xiao Xiao couldn't tell her father about this idea. She could only plan it in her heart. Now that she thought it through, Xiao Xiao couldn't be happier. She'd be able to enjoy the taste of love. And she'd be able to get her revenge on Lin Yi at the same time. It was killing two birds with one stone. Why not? Xiao Xiao asked him out. I want to see him. Tianlong looked at his daughter's expression and knew that his guess was correct. Even if his daughter didn't love Lin Yi, she had a good impression of him. And it seemed like their relationship was already quite close. His daughter had fainted in the middle of a shower, so she had to have been naked. What did that mean? Lin Yi was right beside her? What did that mean? Wah. Xiao Xiao jumped in shock. She looked at her father in disbelief. You want me to ask him out? Yeah, is there a problem? Tianlong smiled. Xiao Xiao, don't worry. I just want to ask him about your condition and how he saved you. You know that your condition is getting better. Maybe he can find a way to cure you? Is that so? Xiao Xiao didn't believe her father's words. Of course. Tianlong nodded. If you don't want to ask him out, I'll go talk to him myself. Don't go talk to him. I'll talk to him first. Xiao Xiao jumped. But she was puzzled. She used this trick to trick Lin Yi a few days ago. Why did her father really want to talk to Lin Yi now? She couldn't have jinxed it, could she? Did she hit the nail on the head? Xiao Xiao was a little troubled. That's good. I'll be staying in Songshan for a few days. You can bring him to our house then. Tianlong said. Okay. Xiao Xiao agreed helplessly. She told Lin Yi that her father wanted to see him, but it was just an excuse to ask him to come to the hotel. But now it became reality. Xiao Xiao was a little troubled. Chapter 972. Xiao Xiao has a date during lunch break. Lin Yi and Tang Yin were having lunch in the cafeteria when Xiao Xiao called. Lin Yi couldn't help but frown as he looked at the caller ID. To be honest, Lin Yi didn't know what this Xiao Xiao girl was thinking. He felt that she was a bit weird. A few days ago, she hated him to death, and now she liked him all of a sudden. If it weren't for the fact that Lin Yi felt that there was something going on, he would have thought that this girl was a masochist. Why aren't you picking up? Tang Yin saw that Lin Yi didn't pick up the phone right away. She asked curiously. It's Xiao Xiao, Lin Yi said. Oh, Tang Yin's face froze when she heard Xiao Xiao's name, but she still said, hurry up and pick up? What if something happened? Yeah, Lin Yi nodded and picked up, Xiao Xiao. Lin Yi, I'm back in Songshan. Where are you? Did you miss me? Xiao Xiao's voice was as bright as always, completely different from the sad Xiao Xiao when she was talking to her dad in the car. If it weren't for the fact that Xiao Xiao had an incurable disease, no one would have believed that this cheerful girl could be this sad. I'm at school, Lin Yi said. If we're classmates, then I miss you a little. Teasy. Xiao Xiao was a bit displeased at Lin Yi's words. Alright, classmate Lin, can you just touch a classmate's chest like that? Lin Yi jumped. This Xiao Xiao really dared to say anything. Luckily, her voice wasn't loud, and Tang Yin didn't hear it. What do you want? Didn't you promise to treat me to dinner? I'm a bit hungry now. Why didn't you come looking for me? Xiao Xiao didn't want to linger on that topic with Lin Yi. Some things were fine as long as she reminded Lin Yi once in a while. There was no point in talking too much. Now, Lin Yi frowned slightly. Yeah, I just got to Songshan. I haven't eaten yet, Xiao Xiao said. You promised me that you'd treat me to beef noodles, and I'll decide the time. All right then. Lin Yi had no choice but to agree. Lin Yi was a man of his word, and since he'd made a promise to Xiao Xiao, he'd have to keep it. Plus, Lin Yi felt like he owed Xiao Xiao a little. He didn't know what Xiao Xiao was doing, but he did touch a girl's private part. Even if only he and Xiao Xiao knew about this. If Xiao Xiao insisted on calling Lin Yi a gangster, then Lin Yi would have no choice but to accept it. After all, Linny was really a little obsessed back then. He did it on purpose. Plus, Xiao Xiao had helped him a great deal in the auction, getting the Wanyankin box into his hands. I'll drive to the school gate now. You can look for me there, Xiao Xiao said. All right. Linny nodded. After hanging up, Linny sighed before turning to Tang Yun. I'm going out for a bit. Oh, okay. Tang Yun nodded. She wanted to ask what Linny was going to do, but it seemed like she was worried about Lin Yi and was interfering with his private affairs. Tang Yun was in a dilemma. But now, with a love rival like the miss in front of her, Tang Yun had to be careful. Xiao Xiao helped me a lot in Yanjing, and I promised to treat her to a meal. She's back now, so she called me. Tang Yun didn't ask for details, but Linny still explained everything to her. Oh, of course you should treat her to a meal. Tang Yun nodded with a smile. It's fine, go ahead. I'll eat in the cafeteria. All right, call me anytime if you need anything. Lin Yi reminded Tang Yun before leaving the cafeteria and walking towards the school gate. Lin Yi had a complicated feeling toward Xiao Xiao. To be honest, Lin Yi thought that Xiao Xiao was just a spoiled rich kid, but that time at the beach, Lin Yi realized that wasn't the case. Especially after knowing that she was Tianlong's daughter, Lin Yi's feelings toward Xiao Xiao became even more complicated. To be honest, Lin Yi felt pity for this girl. She didn't have a mother since she was young, and her father was always busy outside. This was what made her like this. After knowing Xiao Xiao's background, Lin Yi understood her, and he didn't hate her as much as he did before. This is a cheerful girl full of enthusiasm for life. Only when you get close to her can you see her inner loneliness and sadness in some imperceptible details. Xiao Xiao was still driving her Audi TT. The car stopped beside Lin Yi, and she poked her head out from the driver's seat. Lin Yi, get in? Lin Yi didn't say anything. He walked over and opened the door, sitting in the front passenger seat. Hey, why the long face? Xiao Xiao was a little unhappy at Lin Yi's silence. Did I stop you from hitting on girls? I was just getting ready to eat with Tang Yun in the cafeteria. Lin Yi said. So I did. But you can hit on me. Who's prettier, me or Tang Yun? Xiao Xiao blinked her big eyes and turned to Lin Yi. Tang Yun. Lin Yi said. Xiao Xiao's smile turned frosty as she glared at Lin Yi. Don't you know how to coax people? Can't you say something nice? Can't you even lie to me? Fine, you're prettier. Lin Yi said. Boring. Let's go eat. Xiao Xiao looked at Lin Yi's face that said, I'm lying, and her interest waned. Why couldn't she seduce Lin Yi? Why was she so much worse than Tang Yun? Xiao Xiao started the car but didn't go very far. She parked the car in front of a beef noodle restaurant nearby. Lin Yi paused. He didn't think that Xiao Xiao would bring him to a place like this. The prices here weren't high, and when Xiao Xiao asked him to treat her to a meal, Lin Yi thought that she was going to rip him off like how she ripped off Wu Qintian. Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao went into the noodle house and found a table for two. Can the two of you wait for a moment? I'll order for you right away. The waiter was standing in front of a table with a mother and daughter, ordering for them. All right, we'll take a look at the menu first. Lin Yi nodded nonchalantly and picked up the menu. Chapter 973. Eating a bowl of noodles, of course. The waiter nodded. He could see that the living conditions of the mother and daughter were not very good. It could be seen from their clothes. They were all old clothes that were out of season. Nowadays, few people in the city wore such simple clothes. Xiaoxi, can we just have one bowl? I can't eat that much. This bowl of noodles looks like a lot. The mother said to a 15 or 16-year-old girl beside her. Chunxi knew that her mother was reluctant to part with the money, but the doctor said that her mother was about to die. Coming here to eat beef noodles was her wish. Although Chunxi was frugal, she still gritted her teeth and said, just 2 bowls. Child, isn't it a waste? The mother interrupted Chunxi and said to the waiter, just 1 bowl, how much is it? Hello, a bowl of beef noodles. You spent a total of 15 kuai. The waiter sympathized with the mother and daughter, but he was also a part-time worker. His living conditions weren't much better than theirs, and he couldn't just give them a bowl of noodles. That would only make the boss deduct it from his salary. When the mother heard that a bowl of noodles cost 15 kuai, she looked distressed. Chunxi, on the other hand, took out a stack of bills from her pocket, counted out 15 kwai, and gave it to the waiter. The waiter knew that it was not easy for the mother and daughter to earn this money, but he had no other way. He could only look at them sympathetically. He was going to secretly instruct the kitchen to make more noodles for them. This was the only thing he could do. Xiaoxi, it's not easy for you to make money, and you still have to treat my illness. In the future, let's not waste it. Chunxi's mother said softly. 15 kwai, how many noodles can we buy? It's enough for us to eat for many days. Mom, today is my birthday. I said I'll make the decision. Chunxi interrupted her mother and said with a smile. After today, I'll be 16 and adult. I'll definitely make a lot of money in the future, and take you out to eat every day. Haha, okay, Mom will wait for you. The mother sighed in her heart. She didn't know if she could hold on until that day. Seeing that her daughter had grown up, she felt more at ease when she left. This noodle shop was an old one in the neighborhood. It had been open for a few years. When Chunxi was young, she and her mother would pass by here, and they would look at the customers with envy. At that time, her mother would always tell Chunxi that when she made money in the future, she would bring Chunxi here to eat noodles. In the blink of an eye, Chunxi had grown up, but her mother was found to have cancer. All of a sudden, Chunxi's family, which wasn't well off to begin with, became strapped for cash. Her mother couldn't do her job anymore, so she could only rely on Chunxi to pick up waste paper and drink bottles after school. Today was Chunxi's 16th birthday, but Chunxi wasn't happy at all, because just a few days ago, when her mother went to the hospital for a checkup, the doctor told her that her mother only had 1 or 2 months left, and told her to prepare for her funeral. Chunxi was stunned. Although she had expected this day to come, she didn't think it would come so soon. Mom, are you leaving already? Chunxi was very sad, but she was afraid that her mother would suspect, so she had to pretend to be happy. Using birthday as an excuse, Chunxi brought her mother to the noodle shop. In her mother's eyes, Chunxi was still a child's willfulness, but Chunxi knew that if she didn't bring her mother to eat noodles now, her mother might not be able to eat noodles here for the rest of her life. So Chunxi spent a few nights, came home 2 hours late every day, took a bus to the beach to pick up drink bottles, and finally saved up 30 yuan. The goal was to eat beef noodles with her mother. She had already asked for the price in advance, 15 yuan a bowl. Although it was expensive for her, she felt it was worth it. Lin Yi's gaze swept across Chunxi and her mother, and finally stopped on Chunxi's mother. She was a haggard and slightly sick woman, although she had been tortured by the disease, but it could be seen that she must have been very beautiful when she was young. But in Lin Yi's eyes, she probably didn't have long to live. As for the specific reason, Lin Yi didn't know. Without further examination, Lin Yi didn't know what illness she had. The girl called Chunxi was very pretty, probably like her mother when she was young. Although she was only 16, she was already very beautiful. Although her clothes were simple, they were very clean and tidy. This made Lin Yi think of Tang Yun, and it made his heart skip a beat. Lin Yi frowned. He didn't know when, but it seemed like he wasn't so cold anymore. Like he liked to meddle in other people's business? Was it the environment here that changed him? Lin Yi realized that he had indeed left those bloody days far behind. He was starting to blend into this environment, and he even liked it here. The waiter walked over, and Lin Yi retracted his gaze and looked at Xiao Xiao. Xiao Xiao's eyes had been on the mother and daughter the whole time, evidently feeling a little emotional as well. Hello, would you two like to order now? The waiter asked. We want a bowl of beef noodles too. Xiao Xiao didn't wait for Lin Yi to speak. She got the idea from the mother and daughter. Eating a bowl of noodles with Lin Yi would help improve their relationship. Oh, okay. The waiter paused and nodded. It wasn't unusual for a couple to share a bowl of noodles, but it was just a coincidence that the mother and daughter had ordered a bowl of noodles, and Xiao Xiao had ordered a bowl of noodles as well. Just one bowl? You're not eating? Lin Yi frowned as he looked at Xiao Xiao. Of course I'm eating. Xiao Xiao almost exploded after hearing Lin Yi's words. You're treating me to noodles, all right? You're asking me if I'm eating? Why would I ask you to treat me if I'm not eating? Oh, 2 bowls then. Lin Yi said faintly to the waiter. Yes, sir. The waiter smiled. It seemed that either Lin Yi didn't know how to flirt, or Xiao Xiao was overthinking things. These two might not be a couple. They might be a girl chasing a guy. Xiao Xiao was a little unhappy. I can't eat, the noodles here are too big. Then tell him to put less, Linny said. Am I stupid? Xiao Xiao was so angry that she didn't say anything. She waved at the waiter angrily, telling him to leave. Chapter 974. Not much time after a while, the mother and daughter's beef noodles were served. The noodles in the bowl were piled high, and there was a shocking amount of beef on top. Please enjoy your meal. The waiter placed 2 pairs of chopsticks in front of Chun-Shi and her daughter's table, then quietly retreated. The noodles here are so good, no wonder it's so expensive. The mother looked at the beef noodles in surprise. This is enough for the 2 of us. Yeah. Chun-Shi smiled bitterly inwardly. The waiter must have asked the kitchen to make this for them, right? After all, there weren't many customers right now. But when Chun-Shi came for inspection, she checked the amount of noodles. How could there be so much? Now it was more than half. There were a lot more pieces of beef too. This bowl of noodles probably cost 15 kwai. Chun-Shi looked at the busy waiter gratefully, and passed the chopsticks to her mother. Mom, let's eat. Sure, eat. You eat first. The mother looked at Chun-Shi lovingly. It's so good. Chun-Shi knew that her mother wouldn't eat if she didn't, so she took a bite and pushed the noodles to her mother. It was really, really good, but the more Chun-Shi liked it, the more she didn't want to eat it. She wanted to save it for her mother. She could eat it whenever she wanted. She still had time to grow, but her mother. No wonder there's so many people here, it's really good. Chun-Shi's mother nodded in satisfaction after taking a bite. You're still growing, eat more meat. Mom, you eat too. Chun-Shi didn't want to eat it, so she put a small piece of beef in her mouth and a big piece of beef in her mother's mouth. Look, there's a lot of noodles here, isn't there? Xiao Xiao pointed at the mother and daughter as she spoke to Linny. Are you really dumb or are you just pretending? Linny asked. Xiao Xiao almost jumped on the table and stepped on Linny. Why were you so mean to me? Yushu always asks stupid questions. Why didn't you ask her if she was really dumb or just pretending? Xiao Xiao, what are you trying to do? Why do I feel like something's wrong with you? Linny looked at Xiao Xiao. What's wrong with me? I don't want to do anything. I told you. I like you. I want to pursue you. Xiao Xiao said. Linny shook his head. There was nothing he could do if Xiao Xiao didn't want to tell the truth. On the other side, Chun-Shi was still sharing the same bowl of noodles with her mother. Her mother's eyes were still filled with love, and she kept telling Chun-Shi to eat more. But the more it was like this, the sadder Chun-Shi felt. Tears flowed down uncontrollably. She was afraid that her mother would see it, so she quickly stood up and ran in the direction of the bathroom. As she walked, she said, I'm going to the bathroom, Mom, you eat first. Why is she crying? Xiao Xiao was paying attention to Chun-Shi's every move. She was confused when she saw Chun-Shi crying. Her mother is dying, Linny said faintly. What? Xiao Xiao almost stood up from her seat. You're saying that her mom's dying? Are you serious? Look at her mother's face. It's obvious that she's dying. She probably doesn't have much time left, Linny said. You can tell that her mother doesn't have much time left with just one look? Xiao Xiao didn't believe it. Bien Ke saw Kai Huan Gong and left. That's the same logic. Linny said. Sometimes, you can tell how long someone has left with just one look. Then how long do you think I have left? Xiao Xiao's heart skipped a beat. She didn't show it on her face, but she was really nervous inside. I can't tell that you're dying. Linny thought that Xiao Xiao was joking, so he didn't mind. Oh, Xiao Xiao was a little disappointed that Lin Yi didn't take her seriously at all. At that moment, Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao's beef noodles were served as well, but the difference was like heaven and earth compared to Chun-Shi's. 2 bowls here was about the same amount as 1 bowl. See? Is 1 bowl enough? Lin Yi smiled. It's enough. I don't eat much. Xiao Xiao said stubbornly. Who ate so much that they couldn't even walk? Lin Yi couldn't help but think of the time Xiao Xiao ate seafood in Yanjing. She was so full she was like a crab, walking sideways. That's because I wanted to eat that iron fist Wu Por. Xiao Xiao blushed. As the two were talking, something happened to Chun-Shi. Chun-Shi was afraid that her mother would see her crying, so she wanted to go to the bathroom quickly. She didn't know that as soon as she got up, she bumped into a customer who had just entered the noodle house. The customer was lighting a cigarette with a lighter, and Chun-Shi turned around and knocked the lighter in his hand to the ground. Motherfucker, little girl. Don't you have eyes? Do you even know how to walk? The man was furious when Chun-Shi knocked the lighter to the ground. I'm sorry. Chun-Shi jumped and quickly bent down to pick up the lighter. I'm returning it to you. I'm really sorry. I didn't do it on purpose. Sorry? You're just sorry? Do you know what brand this lighter is? Zippo. You dropped the paint on it. Can you afford it? The man grinned and glared at Chun-Shi. Chun-Shi didn't think that she would get into trouble just by turning around. She didn't know if the man was telling the truth, but she was in the wrong. She lowered her head. I'm sorry. Cut the bullshit, hurry up and pay up. The man slammed the table, and with a bang, the beef noodles in front of Chun-Shi's mother hit the ground. It shattered, and the soup and noodles spilled all over the floor. Chun-Shi didn't think that this man would be so unreasonable. She had already apologized, and not only did he not accept it, he even knocked over her beef noodles. This was the noodles she had spent a lot of effort to buy for her mother. Thinking of this, Chun-Shi couldn't help but cry. I'm sorry, big bro, the child doesn't know any better. How much is the lighter? I'll pay you. Chun-Shi's mother didn't think that this would happen. The mother and daughter were happily eating noodles, and now they were in trouble. 5,000. The man humphed coldly. Hurry up and pay up, or I'll call the police and sue her for deliberately destroying other people's property. Chapter 975. Chapter 973. Xiao Xiao's idea. What did you think? This is Zippo, an international brand. Have you ever seen it on TV? This brand of lighter is used in movies. The man raised his lighter and shouted. But isn't this lighter fine? It doesn't have to be 5,000, right? Chun-Shi's mother asked carefully, her eyes filled with shock. Fine. How am I supposed to use it if the paint is peeling off? I'm a high-class person, living in the upper class. How can I take a lighter that's peeling off? The man himphed coldly, slamming the lighter on the table beside the mother and daughter. If you can use it, I'll give it to you. Hurry up and give me 5,000, don't bullshit. There weren't many customers in the restaurant at this time, because it was already 1 in the afternoon when Lin Yi saw Xiao Xiao. It was just past lunchtime. But even if there were customers here, who would care about this? The waiter of the beef noodle shop, although he didn't like the man and sympathized with Chun-Shi and her mother, he also knew that disputes between customers had nothing to do with their shop. At this time, the best choice was not to interfere. Xiao Xiao frowned, thinking that this man was really despicable. She had always sympathized with Chun-Shi. She lost her mother when she was young, and now Chun-Shi was about to lose her mother as well. This made Xiao Xiao feel like they were in the same boat, and she couldn't help but like Chun-Shi. Now that this man was making things difficult for the mother and daughter, she was furious. And so Xiao Xiao stood up, and before the man could react, she grabbed the lighter from the table. Let me see, what kind of lighter is worth 5,000? Who are you? Mind your own business. The man frowned, not expecting someone to suddenly appear out of nowhere. But seeing how fashionable Xiao Xiao was, he didn't dare mess with her. After all, he only picked on people who were easy to bully. As far as I know, Zippo is an international brand, but the price ranges from high to low. The cheapest one is only a few dozen kuai, and yours? Xiao Xiao picked up the man's lighter and looked at it before saying faintly, this is a Zipk, not a Zippo. It's a knockoff, not even worth a few dozen kuai. Nonsense. The man's face reddened at Xiao Xiao's words, and his embarrassment turned into anger as he reached out to grab the lighter from Xiao Xiao's hand. But who was Xiao Xiao? He was the weakest of the big 4 young thugs. How could she be afraid of someone who dared to set off firecrackers on Lin Yi's butt? He casually lit the lighter. As a result, when the man grabbed it, the lighter burned his hand and ignited his sleeve. Ah, fuck me. The man started waving his arms around, finally putting out the fire on his sleeves. His eyes were filled with rage, and he'd lost his mind. He raised his hand, wanting to slap Xiao Xiao. At this moment, Xiao Xiao jumped in fright. But what she was thinking was, could Lin Yi save her? Lin Yi, naturally, wouldn't let Xiao Xiao get bullied. The next moment, the man's hand was grabbed tightly by Lin Yi. You. Let go of me. The man was a bit scared after being grabbed by Lin Yi. The pain in his hand told him that Lin Yi wasn't someone to be messed with. He was someone who bullied the weak and feared the strong. And it was only because Chun-Shi was dressed like a country bumpkin that he thought she was easy to bully. But now, Lin Yi clearly wasn't someone to be messed with. He was a little scared. Do you know who I am? I'm very familiar with Guangbro in the North District. Don't mind your own business. Who's Guangbro? Lin Yi paused. Zoruaguang Guangbro. The man thought that Lin Yi didn't know, so he added, he's the boss of the North District. Zoruaguang. Why does that name sound so familiar? Xiao Xiao interrupted. The moment Lin Yi made his move, Xiao Xiao felt a bit of sweetness in her heart. Lin Yi still cared about her. He still cared about her. His attitude towards her was a bit cold, but if something really happened to her, he wouldn't just stand by and watch. Oh, just an idiot, Lin Yi said. He has a retarded brother called Zoruaming, you know him. Oh, Zoruaming, I thought he knew someone strong. Xiao Xiao let out a breath of relief when she heard that it was Zoruaming's brother. Ugh. The man didn't know what to do. He thought that he'd bring up someone strong and Lin Yi would give in, but he didn't expect Lin Yi to know someone. Who else do you know? If you don't know anyone, then you can leave. Lin Yi let go of the man's hand, not caring about him at all. The man hesitated for a moment before running out of the beef noodle shop. Evidently, he felt that he was no match for Lin Yi, and it was best to run away. Thank you guys so much. Chun-Shi's mother thought that she'd have to pay a huge debt before she died. And in her moment of despair, someone stood up for her and her daughter. Luckily, these two were knowledgeable and saw through the man's scam. And they even managed to scare him away. Otherwise, the mother and daughter wouldn't know what to do. Thank you, big bro, big sis. Chun-Shi wiped her tears and bowed politely to Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao. It's nothing, Xiao Xiao said. Just be careful next time. Okay. Chun-Shi nodded gratefully, but when she saw the broken beef noodles on the floor, she couldn't help but feel pained. She turned to her mother. Mom, can we get another bowl? No, we've already tasted it, we know how it tastes. Don't waste money. Chun-Shi's mother, naturally, didn't want her daughter to spend more money. I haven't touched this bowl yet, I can't eat it anymore. You guys can have it. Xiao Xiao rolled her eyes and gave her bowl of beef noodles to the mother and daughter. That's not okay. Chun-Shi's mother paused and quickly rejected. I want to share a bowl with him, Auntie. Didn't you hear it? Xiao Xiao whispered in Chun-Shi's mother's ear. Just do me a favor, okay? Chun-Shi's mother did hear that Xiao Xiao wanted to share a bowl of noodles with Lin Yi, so she didn't suspect anything when Xiao Xiao said this, but she couldn't say yes, and she couldn't say no either. If she said yes, she'd be taking something from them for free, but if she didn't say yes, they'd already asked for a favor, and they'd just done her a huge favor. How could she say no? Chapter 976. Teeth clenching. Lin Yi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Xiao Xiao's actions made it hard for Lin Yi to decide if he should support her or oppose her. He could say that she was trying so hard to have a bowl of noodles with him, but her actions were just in the nick of time, and he couldn't stop her from helping someone else, could he? Lin Yi could only chalk it up to coincidence. Looking at the smiling Xiao Xiao in front of him, Lin Yi waved at the waiter faintly. Waiter, please bring me another bowl. Yes, sir. The waiter was just cleaning up the broken bowls when he heard Lin Yi's words. What do you want an empty bowl for? Xiao Xiao blinked. I'll give you half of the beef noodles. Lin Yi took the empty bowl the waiter handed him, and started using his chopsticks to put the beef noodles into the empty bowl. Xiao Xiao glared at Lin Yi, her eyes watery. She was on the verge of tears. She'd finally found a chance to eat noodles with Lin Yi just now, and she'd almost died from happiness. But now Lin Yi was giving her another empty bowl. Lin Yi didn't pay attention to her, giving her half of his beef noodles before lowering his head and eating first. Xiao Xiao stuck her chopsticks in the bowl as if she had a deep grudge against the beef noodles, gritting her teeth and shoving the noodles into her mouth like a hungry wolf. You're that hungry? Should we order another bowl then? Lin Yi couldn't help but smile as he looked at Xiao Xiao. No. Xiao Xiao shook her head and looked at Lin Yi hatefully. I'm not eating with you anymore, you're a bully. Ugh. Lin Yi felt a little uncomfortable as he looked at Xiao Xiao. Lin Yi felt that it was normal for Xiao Xiao to threaten him, but now, it was as if Xiao Xiao had really been wronged. It made Lin Yi's heart ache. and he wanted to say something before sighing softly. Xiao Xiao saw that Lin Yi wasn't talking, so she pouted and went back to eating the noodles, as if the noodles were Lin Yi's tendons and the beef was his flesh, gritting her teeth as she ate. It didn't take long for him to finish half a bowl of noodles in front of him, and Xiao Xiao was almost done as well. You're full? Let's go back to school then? Lin Yi asked after Xiao Xiao put down her chopsticks. Let's go back, Xiao Xiao said coldly, evidently still pissed off. Haha. Lin Yi smiled and ignored her. Xiao Xiao was like that, and she'd be fine after a while. The two were about to leave when they heard a panicked call from behind them. Mom, what's wrong? Why did you faint all of a sudden? Chun-Shi and her mom were eating noodles, and while they weren't in a good mood, they were actually a little heavy. But in order to thank Xiao Xiao, they couldn't just leave like that. That would be disrespectful. After all, Xiao Xiao had good intentions. So the mother and daughter decided to secretly give Xiao Xiao 15 kuai after they finished their noodles. Chun-Shi and her mom weren't people who took things from others for free. They were poor, but Chun-Shi used her own labor every day, picking up trash on the beach, streets and alleyways. She didn't earn much, but it was still her labor. But before the two could finish their noodles, Chun-Shi's mom fainted on the table, and Chun-Shi didn't know what to do. After all, her mom was sick, but she'd never fainted before. Even if she went to the hospital, it was with the mother and daughter. Quick, call the ambulance. The waiter was experienced, and he quickly reminded them. Okay. Chun-Shi nodded and said, who can lend me their phone for a while? She didn't have a phone, and while it wasn't expensive, she couldn't afford it. Use mine. Xiao Xiao didn't care about getting mad at Lin Yi anymore. She took out her phone and gave it to Chun-Shi. Seeing the panic in Chun-Shi's eyes, Xiao Xiao remembered her lonely and sad childhood. How lonely was it without her mom by her side? No need. Sending her to the hospital won't help. Don't waste money, Lin Yi said faintly as he looked at Chun-Shi's mother. Chun-Shi's life was fading away quickly. Basically, there was no hope. Chun-Shi heard Lin Yi's words, and her expression froze for a moment. Then tears flowed down her face, and she hugged her mom, crying out loud. Although it was her 16th birthday today, she was still a fragile girl. She knew that her mom would leave her soon, but she didn't think it would be this soon. When her mother fainted, Chun-Shi still had a sliver of hope in her heart, hoping that her mother would wake up after reaching the hospital. But Lin Yi's words were like a bucket of cold water, pouring it all over her head, plunging her into despair. At that moment, she felt so helpless. She didn't know what to do. The only thing she could do was hug her mom and cry out loud. That was the only way she could vent the pain in her heart. What's wrong with you? Who talks like that? Lin Yi's words made the waiter unhappy. Who do you think you are? You can decide someone's life and death with just one sentence? Lin Yi turned his head and looked at the waiter faintly. This person had a good heart. From the beginning to the end, he didn't look down on Chun-Shi and her mother, so Lin Yi wouldn't vent his anger on him. What he said now was just anger because he didn't know the truth. Why would Lin Yi bother with him? Seeing Lin Yi turn his head, the waiter was shocked. He remembered that Lin Yi had just chased away the troublemaker, and he was a little scared. But Lin Yi's words were indeed unpleasant, so the waiter only took a step back and insisted. Don't listen to his nonsense, hurry up and send her to the hospital. I'll call the ambulance right now. Lin Yi, is there really no hope for her? After Lin Yi saved her last time, Xiao Xiao knew that Lin Yi knew medicine, so she couldn't help but believe Lin Yi's words. At that moment, Lin Yi's hand was already on Chun-Shi's wrist. He didn't explain much to the waiter and only said to Xiao Xiao, terminal liver cancer, what do you think the hospital can do? Xiao Xiao's face froze. Cancer, one of the incurable diseases of the century. Even people who didn't know medicine would basically think that this person was already sentenced to death when they heard the word cancer. Lin Yi's words stunned Chun-Shi. Her eyes were wide open, staring at Lin Yi without blinking. Chapter 977. No matter what, but only Chun-Shi knew that Lin Yi wasn't just talking nonsense. She was shocked because Lin Yi was able to identify her mother's illness as soon as he opened his mouth. And it was accurate to the late stage of liver cancer. She had brought her mother to see both Eastern and Western medicine before, and she had seen this method of diagnosis. But she had never seen someone like Lin Yi. who could accurately identify the illness in just a few seconds. In an instant, Chun-Shi understood that this big brother who helped her before was a miracle doctor. If he could identify her mother's illness, could he save her? You can save my mother, right? If you can identify my mother's illness, then there must be a way. Chun-Shi didn't care about the fact that men and women shouldn't touch each other. She grabbed Lin Yi's hand and said urgently, "Please, I beg you, save my mother, no matter what it takes." Lin Yi's heart skipped a beat. In the past, he wouldn't be moved by the joys and sorrows of separation and reunion. But now, was he the one who had changed? Chun-Shi's words made the waiter's jaw drop. He didn't think that Lin Yi would actually be able to identify Chun-Shi's mother's illness. And from the looks of it, Lin Yi really was a doctor. So what he said before was all true? At the thought, the waiter felt a little ashamed. It was all his fault for being too impulsive, scolding Lin Yi without any reason. "Lin Yi, do you have a way?" Xiao Xiao knew how painful it was to lose her mother. When she saw Chun-Shi, she thought of herself, so if there was a way, she wouldn't give up. If it was just discovered, then it's possible. Lin Yi hesitated and said, "But now it's a little troublesome." Chun-Shi was a little disappointed when she heard the first half of Lin Yi's sentence. But the second half of Lin Yi's sentence made her eyes light up. Because Lin Yi said it was troublesome, not that there was no way. Troublesome meant that although it was difficult, there was still a way. At the thought, Chun-Shi subconsciously kneeled in front of Lin Yi. "Miracle Dr. Bro, please save my mother. I'm willing to pay any price." Xiao Xiao was just testing the waters when she asked, but she didn't expect Lin Yi to give a definite answer. Xiao Xiao knew Lin Yi's character very well. If Lin Yi didn't agree, then he would do everything he could. So Xiao Xiao let out a breath of relief. If he said there was a way, then there must be a way. With that thought, Xiao Xiao relaxed a little. She couldn't help but joke with Chun-Shi. "He saved your mom, so why don't you be his lover?" Ah. Chun-Shi blinked and blushed. Naturally, she knew what it meant to be a mistress. What she had to do was the same as selling herself. When Chun-Shi was desperate and had no money, she thought about selling herself for her mother's treatment. But she wasn't stupid. She knew that her mother's illness couldn't be cured. The doctor made it very clear that no matter how much money was spent, it would only slow down the time of death. It was impossible to cure it. Therefore, Chun-Shi understood that even if she sold herself for her mother's treatment, it would only last for a while. If her mother found out what she had done, she might even die from anger. Liver cancer was not something that could be easily provoked, so the loss would outweigh the gain. But now Lin Yi gave her hope. From Lin Yi's tone, Chun-Shi could tell that Lin Yi had a way. The reason why she believed that Lin Yi had a way was because Lin Yi was able to tell her mother's illness as soon as he opened his mouth. Out of all the doctors she had seen for her mother, he was the only one who could tell her mother's illness so quickly. So even though Chun-Shi felt that Xiao Xiao's request was a little too much, she didn't have time to think about it. She nodded impulsively. "All right, as long as it can cure my mother, then I'll do anything." Chun-Shi still couldn't say the 3 words lover, because these 3 words, to someone as pure as water, were really a bit hard to say. But Chun-Shi wasn't an idiot. She believed in Lin Yi, but she couldn't do anything with him before he cured her mother's illness. One, she wasn't in the mood, and the other, she was afraid that Lin Yi would lie to her. Although Lin Yi didn't seem like a scammer, she still had to be cautious. If he really could cure her mother's illness, then Chun-Shi would have no regrets. Today was her birthday, and she was an adult. She could make her own decision. Lin Yi listened to the conversation between Xiao Xiao and Chun-Shi, and he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He knew that Xiao Xiao was just messing around, but Chun-Shi took it for real. The waiter of the restaurant felt that Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao were taking advantage of the situation, and he felt that there was something wrong with this girl. She clearly liked Lin Yi, and he hadn't even gotten her yet. Why was she trying to be a matchmaker? Was she crazy? But this was someone else's business. What did it have to do with a waiter like him? All he could do was to do his part well. Huh. Lin Yi smiled. "She's just joking with you. You're too young. You haven't even matured yet. Why would I want you as a mistress?" Lin Yi's words were a bit of a blow to Chun-Shi's confidence, but he was saying it to make Chun-Shi give up on the idea. Lin Yi thought that Chun-Shi was a pretty and cute girl, But it wasn't to the point where he wanted her to be his mistress. Wasn't it messy enough with Xiao Xiao? If he made another mistress, Tang Yin wouldn't be happy about it, and the miss would be pissed as well. Who said I haven't matured? Chen Shi heard Lin Yi's words and her face turned bright red. She had always been confident in her looks, and even if her body wasn't particularly outstanding, it was still quite developed for her age. But Lin Yi looked down on her for being young and not maturing. Naturally, Chen Shi misunderstood that Lin Yi looked down on her, and that he didn't want to help her. Chen Shi was desperate to save her mother, and she couldn't care less about her shyness. She puffed up her chest in front of Lin Yi. How am I young? Even if I haven't matured, I'll continue to grow. Lin Yi was taken aback by Chen Shi's actions and he shook his head. You're too young. I just turned 16 today. I'm an adult now. Plus, I can still grow up. Chen Shi said hurriedly. By the time you grow up, your mother will be long dead. Lin Yi smiled.